Welcome to Outlaw Radio, Hump Day Edition. What it do, what it do. My name is Kevin Barnes. I'm the host of Outlaw Radio, where we talk all things black. Welcome to the show. It's Outlaw Radio. Speak on it. Share the show. Share the show. If this is your first time listening, then you should be made aware of the phone number that's connected, which is 262-202-5131. Once again, it's 262-202-5131. Got a chat room popping. Share the show, share the show, share the show. Rock, what it do, what it do, what it do, big homie. JC Terry in the chat room. He said, "What up? How you doing, my brother?" It's birthday weekend for your boy. So, man, I'm looking forward to really relaxing and being able to sit and think about how far I've come and how far I need to go. So give it up for me for my birthday in a couple days. You doing the slow white movie clap. Mr. Carter, what's popping? What's popping with you on this beautiful night?
Hey man, I'm enjoying the season change. I'm ready for it to get hot again. You know what I'm saying? Ready to get this shit over with. You know me, man. I appreciate it all, really.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Please don't even front. This is Mr. Nature Nature Herbs himself. Vitality popping
Yeah,
at the
I
Sherman
am.
Field. Right.
I am the black woman lover, the black man's brother, the culture teacher, hood healer, the ghetto witch doctor. I'm y'all holistic health and wellness coach. Come on. Peace to the family. I'm also the one who brings you House of Vitality, Nature's Nature herbs and supplements, and vitality itself, y'all. Y'all better come on in. I got this new hot elderberry sea moss tea, man. Come on down, get you a sample. You gon' want a cup after you try it, man. Come holler at the kid. Every day, Tuesday through Saturday, not every day, Tuesday through Saturday, 11 to 7.
Got you. Listen, support black business. How many times can we say it? Like at this point, it's what we call redundant on the show that we say support black business, not only just like black business in the form of brick and mortar, but even black platforms such as Outlaw Radio and other people who really speak to foundational black Americans. Big up that, support that, because God knows it's a lot of foolishness on the airways. I call it pollution, right? And it's sonic pollution, and you can fall victim to it. Ewok, I see you in the chat. He said he looking at, he see us, he sees us, he sees us.
Mm.
Oh, what up, cousin Mariah Johnson? She said, hey, family, happy birthday, cousin. Absolutely, cuz. Yes. Chilling this whole weekend, laid back. Think I might go purchase me some items. I ain't, I haven't been on my gear like I used to be. Like, cause I had so much stuff. Like when the pandemic came, I literally had just a whole walk-in closet full of damn near new clothes. And I'm still just like I'm like, okay, I'm at the end of these clothes finally. 3 years at like, so I gotta go refresh, man. I gotta get my wardrobe on deck. And it's getting cold, like Kamar said. So Dion's in the chat room. He said, we in this motherfucker. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. He said, only real motherfuckers allowed. No cap. Shout out to y'all, man. Shout out to y'all. He said, happy birthday, Kev. Yes, man. Yes. Great day to be a black man in America. Wednesday night. Outlaw Radio, speak on it. You're supposed to have a guest. I don't know if he's running late. I don't know if he'll show up. Okay, there he is. As soon as I say it, I spoke him up because Kamar, I don't like being ghosted. So I was about to declare all hell on the guest. Like, you're not here. I was about to lose it, but he came in right on time. So you know how we go, Kamar. So check this out. This might be a different kind of show because this show will be one that's very, very, very informative, if nothing else. Sean Moore, you calling in early? What's popping?
What the fuck happened? What's up, family?
What's going on, man? How you doing tonight?
What up, Dr. Carter? Negro Whisperer. I see Rail ain't on yet.
Yeah. Rail is. I don't know. Rail does Rail, so not like that, but sometimes he has to get the babies and stuff straight. So yeah, he's not here yet.
I understand. I got kids.
Rail is railing.
Right. Rail is railing. So Sean, what's happening, man? You got something you wanted to drop on us because you called so early. I wasn't even out of first gear yet. What's good with you?
I can't call in early, bro.
No, people usually don't call in early because I do all the talking early. Then I tell them when they call it. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just saying you called in early. Let me
That's
introduce
the
my guest.
narcissistic if I've ever heard it.
Right.
Any.
All right. I'm egotistical to say the least. I got a guest though. Let me introduce my guest. And this is a brother who is very, very deep. When I say brother, I mean brothers in microphones. Like no people say, "Kid, really a white dude." My brother, tell these people who you are and what you do.
Well, my name is Kriston T. Harris. I'm an investigative journalist and reporter. I am most well known as being one of the most well known protest reporters in the United States. I've covered over 200 protests in the last 10 years. And these protests aren't just politically motivated protests, but religious protests and different ideologies. I don't really hold any political value in the Republican or Democrat Party or any party for that matter. I feel that multinational corporatists fund both parties. So what's the difference? Just other than rhetoric. So most well known, I guess, for being a witness in the Kyle Rittenhouse trial and having the most extensive coverage. I was the first reporter on scene allegedly after Jacob Blake was shot in Kenosha, as well as key reporter in the George Floyd protests, as well as January 6th and the Ghislaine Maxwell Jeffrey Epstein trial, which I was the only reporter there every day. And I'm the reason why anyone knows what happened in that courtroom, because I paid out of my own pocket to release the stenographers' witness testimonies of the victims of Jeffrey Epstein. So that just gives you a little bit of a down low. I also do talk radio, a program called The Rundown Live, which focuses on raising consciousness and police accountability, as well as surveillance state, government encroachments, and statism, as well as conspiracies from time to time. We're not afraid to investigate the fringe, which has brought a lot of heat upon me as well, for me being willing to go on just about any radio program and have serious conversations about difficult topics, because we got to learn to bring people together, not divisive and destroying division like we see being done in the community and the world we know now. And the more we progress, it seems the worse things are getting in the world in general. So
well, I would like to say thank you for coming by and welcome to the show.
It's still a lot.
Thank you guys. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on. Like I get to hang out. I know Ian C. Jordan, a friend in common, and recommended that I come and join you guys, and I'm glad to be here. It's actually I've been looking forward to this all week, actually. So
yes, this is something different.
I got a question for you, KB.
This is we'll get to it. This is Outlaw Radio. I want you to relax. You don't have to keep it tied up and tight. You can be as politically incorrect as you would like. We are unbought and unbossed, so we can say whatever we want. Freedom of speech is in effect. Now, my partner just dropped in, so I got to acknowledge his presence. Fonzarelli, what it do, man? How you doing tonight?
Hey, I'm happy to be here, man.
That's always his answer, right? I'm just happy to be here.
Hey, man, happy to be existing and aware of my existence.
Yes,
can't ask for too much more than that.
Something very interesting. First of all, I want to say too, because how we say words. I said Christian, and you said Kriston. Okay, but I heard you say a couple things, and one of the things is that we are known as the party poopers because we poop on both parties for their egregious treatment of people of color in this country. So we don't give a shit about Republican or Democratic stances and perspectives either. We call a spade a spade. So like we say in the community, it is what it is. In terms of your history of reporting from protests, being in the courtroom, that kind of thing, that perspective is always needed, because I always try to give people the big picture instead of being emotional and having knee-jerk reactions. I say, like, when you start talking about Jacob Blake and Kyle Rittenhouse and all these kinds of subjects and topics, we say, well, what really happened in the courtroom? How did this actually happen? Now, well, because they racist. That's the obvious answer. But to understand how racism and segregation and discrimination is franchised in this country, institutionalized even, and there's laws that protect it. There's loopholes in the law that perpetuate it. So I want to say welcome to the show. Sean Moore, you said you had a question for this brother. What's the question?
Hey, I got a question. How do I get my press pass, bro?
To be honest, how I first started is I made my own damn press pass, and I used it as far as it would get me. And then I joined the Milwaukee Press Club. Of course, you have to pay some dues. There's a little background check, and then you get the Milwaukee Press Pass, which is one of the most, allegedly the most prestigious press pass around, because it's one of the oldest press clubs in America, and it gets you into just about every other press club. Now getting a DC press pass, I don't even have one of those. Getting in and out of the Capitol, that can be very difficult to get one of those. But I think that for news,
I don't want to be around them because I don't like them. They wouldn't like me. I just want to be able to get into shit.
Then why you want a press pass then? If you don't, I mean, do you want one?
I don't want to talk to the politicians. I want to dig deep. I want to do investigative shit like him. He's my new idol.
Okay. Well, you gained a supporter. You gained a supporter, man. So
no, I mean, to be honest, it's about having passion and following that gut instinct. So a couple of things that you mentioned there. Well, it's interesting. I kind of like my experience is different. Like everyone has different beliefs, but for me, it was trusting in God and really finding a way to bring together my heart and follow the energy. My friend G. Edward Griffin, who wrote The Creature from Jekyll Island, which is a book about the creation of the Federal Reserve and how it's put us into a big plantation and slavery by putting us in debt forever. Calls it the Crusader gene. So you're here in this planet to do something. Now, if you decide to choose with your heart and soul to follow that, it's almost as if magically the world will mold its way around you. And if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, God puts you, well, I call it God. Some people call it a different energy or whatever, puts you in a position where you can do what you're here to do. And I felt like after doing reporting for about 10 years that I was done, I've seen a lot of people I've worked with it throughout the years get big, you know, the Tim Pools of the world and the Luke Rudowskis and other individuals. And I was like, I had an opportunity during COVID to go after this one last time, and I had a little bit in the basement. So I got on my knees and I did a little prayer, and I said, God, if this is what I'm supposed to be doing, I need an opportunity. And in the next week, I had 20,000 viewers in my live stream while they were burning down the 3rd precinct at the George Floyd protest. Now, I'm not saying that's what God willed. I'm just saying that's how things happened. And from there on out, I started to grow, and I'd use this platform to try to bring people together, have civil conversations about difficult topics, and, try to really investigate things that the mainstream media doesn't want you to, and bring raw information and data so you can plant seeds in the garden of your mind to grow healthy ideas, not that GMO news that they spread out there in the mainstream media.
I swear it sounds like you've been listening to Outlaw Radio. I'm just saying, it sounds like you've been listening to the show. It sounds like because
I still need some clarity, because there's one thing that you didn't clear up, right? The most important. How much are the dues? Outlaw Radio don't pay.
To be honest, it isn't a whole lot. It's like, I think it's under $100 a year, and you can submit for all the awards and the ceremonies.
But hold on, because there was a thinly veiled shot in there. He said Outlaw Radio don't pay him. Why would I pay?
Bro, hold on, bro.
No.
Are you interrupting?
That hasn't stopped you. That hasn't stopped you at all tonight, because you've been cutting him off since you came on, right? Why? Outlaw Radio? No, we don't pay for you to get into the press club. No, we don't do that. That's something you should be able to do yourself. I would suggest, if you want to have a conversation with him, to inbox him.
And there's no real need for a press club or a press pass. You just go there and you do it. You do your thing.
Right. What you're telling me is that I can't ask no more questions.
Well, you got to let us talk, and then you can put your question in. But you just kind of impromptu, just really rude, just dumping them in. I got to stay within the context of the show, brother.
Well, you're right. You're Outlaw Radio.
Well, it's that kind of thing. So I don't know. I mean, I could send you a link.
Don't mute me.
Well, that's where you headed. It seems like that's where you want to be. You want to be. Your temperament right now is got you headed in that direction, right? So, because my phone does accidentally hang up sometimes. So, I want to make this clear into the conversation, because what we're doing is I want people to understand why I have this gentleman here. Because a lot of the things he just said, and this is why I call the show Speak on It. And I was going to talk about the reason behind why people have platforms, why people want to be content creators, why somebody would ultimately have a conviction that they want to spread information, and information that the average person doesn't have access to. It is almost the same as what we say all the time on why we do Outlaw Radio. Kamar, when you and I were being interviewed on the Call to Action podcast with Ticey and Ticey and my sister, Team Teal. I'm having a brain fire. I can't remember her name. Ticey and her, we were on there and they asked us our why, and that's what we said.
Samantha Collier.
Samantha Collier. There you go. I don't know why. I wouldn't remember that. But that's what we talked about. Just being convicted and saying, "Hey, I need to make it a mission," and then having that conversation and say, "I'm going to do this, and if this is where I'm supposed to be or what I'm supposed to be doing, let the chips fall where they may." So I just wanted to say that's kind of like a parallel between what you do and what we do. So once again, welcome to the show. If you have questions other than Sean, if you have questions, the number is 262-202-5131. The chat room is on deck. Share the show. Share the show is all that we ask. So let's bring this in because there's a lot right now going on in Milwaukee. And we've talked about this is about to be voting season. So it's commercial time for us to see these slanted commercials in which his mama taught at MPS and his daddy worked third shift. And it's all these kinds of things. And the rhetoric gets ramped up about Republican versus Democrat. And there's a belief, especially amongst white people, I could say, that black people are Velcro to the Democratic Party. And it's not true. One of the things Ian C. Jordan and I connected on is proper people policy, right? And it wasn't about whether you're leaning right or left. What made sense made sense. And so that's the first time I started to realize maybe I can have a few conversations with some conservative people or maybe some, especially black people. I don't feel like that we need to be divided because somebody says I represent a donkey and I represent an elephant. So politically, we're somewhere in the middle, but you have to choose a side if you're going to vote, right? So I would ask you, what would you advise people in regards to voting? What would be your advice? You've been in the courtroom, you've seen how the system works. What would be your advice to potential voters?
Well, don't waste your vote. And you mentioned a problem right there. It's a two-party system. So you're voting for the lesser of two evils. Stealing a king-size candy bar or a regular-size candy bar is still stealing if you had to choose to steal one of the two. So the big problem is we have a two-party system that really keeps us in perpetual problems, the whole problem reaction solution, or what they call the Hegelian dialectic, where essentially we can vote for a new solution, but it just provides more problems in which we want another candidate for. And so the real answer is voting locally and working in your school districts, because your schools have a lot of power. Your school boards have a lot of power. That's where you need to focus, is on the community, because let's be honest, what does a president really do? Why do we even need a president? Like, what's the purpose of the position? I'm just saying, like, he has executive order power, and yeah, he's the figurehead. But when it comes down to it, do we really need a president? Honestly, do we really need assemblymen and senators if we can all vote now? Blockchain voting is there. You can just vote from your phone and not have any real worry about representation when everyone could vote on issues from their phone. Do we need to vote an assemblyman who's going to vote 51% of the time right and 49% of the time wrong, when we can all vote every time and not have to worry about fraud? There's a lot of solutions out there, and that's what I want to be here and talking about. Like, listen, you want to talk about throwing away your vote? Throwing away your vote is voting for somebody that doesn't represent you. But throwing away your vote is voting for a Joe Biden or a Donald Trump. And yeah, they say, well, voting third party is throwing away your vote. Well, I always believe voting for somebody that isn't for what you believe in is wasting your vote. So,
yes, well put. Once again, it's along the lines of what we always say on the show about voting against your best interest. And I know my people in particular for a very long time, and I want to be honest about this too. We have a very, 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 very good reason to be disillusioned with American politics, with this system that we all have been under for I don't know how long. And I often talk about, you update your Windows on your computer more than you update your Constitution or your Bill of Rights, right? You have to cut your iPhone and your iPad off sometimes and let it update, We still got a 500-year-old document that's written by slave owners that's supposed to be our governing document. And they always refer to it, the founding fathers. But the one thing I will say is, I heard you say, why do we need a president? Okay, and I think his role as commander in chief brings some sort of diplomacy to it, because there is somebody responsible for the engagement of our military and how it's utilized. Now, I'm not saying he does it right, because I didn't like what Obama did. I haven't, most of the time when it comes to foreign policy, our presidents are just bloodthirsty killers when it comes to what the military is deployed to do. But that's one thing. But also, we talked about this the other night, the system of checks and balances. See, if we were to get rid of congressmen and senators and representatives and all them, I'm all for that. If we can institute some other form of checks and balances, so not one person has, supreme power, because we know money speaks, right? Money, it always turns out whoever has the most money ends up in charge. So if we could come up with a system, and maybe you have some ideas for this, how do we still institute checks and balances if we get rid of the structure that we have right now? Go ahead, Kamar.
I think he kind of answered that a little bit, though. He
With
just said, like, voting from your phone. Like, you know what I mean? There's ways around it. You know what I'm saying? We can vote from our phone and have somebody in charge of being a spokesperson.
Yeah, blockchain is, you can't defraud blockchain, and that's why they don't want it. And you can do ranked choice voting, so you can actually vote your heart, and you could have a solution. The problem is the solution makes the government in many shapes and forms obsolete. That's why I've serious concern about artificial intelligence, because it's going to do so many wonderful things that we're going to depend on it too much. And you mentioned something about military. I want to know, which war have we been in that wasn't a banker war? I mean, they make money off of both sides. Why is it? Blackwater, Halliburton. Which one of these wars were we there for a real reason? 9/11 ended up being Saudi Arabia. Why were we in Afghanistan? You can get into Persian Gulf. What was that about? Oil. Vietnam. Why were we even in Vietnam? It was none of our business. Why are we not having votes in Congress to go to war like we're supposed to? I'm saying, if you don't want the rules, at least vote to change them. I understand it's a very old piece of paper, not 500 years. It's almost 300 years old. That piece of paper there, they call the Constitution. We're getting there. We're coming across 250 here. And it's still the best piece of paperwork we have, even though it may have been made by people who have done not so politically correct things and things that America shouldn't be proud of. But at the same time, that piece of paper does hold things together. The problem is we don't follow that piece of paper. And if we did, I think the United States would be better off in many shapes or forms if we did follow the Constitution. And, look at the surveillance state. Nobody follows the Fourth Amendment anymore. They have got gate sensors, facial recognition. You're walking around town. They got police robots. They have pre-crime units. They have, predictive crime. If you are angry and you post something on your Facebook, they're patrolling in your neighborhood. How long is it before self-driving cars take you to the police station if you have a warrant? That's the future. That's where we're going. And we need to talk about these things and have conversations about, our constitutional rights. And if we don't like the way the Constitution is laid out, we need to vote on that. We need to change it, not just ignore it. And I think that's a major problem that we're having right now, especially when it comes to war and things that we tend to really complain about. But what's the solution? How can we fix these things? And especially since everything's becoming automated, drone warfare, robot warfare, EMPs, everything that we're seeing coming across, as far as, voice of God technology, microwave technology, LRAD, all this stuff that's out there, there's a lot of concern, and we need to ask, should we be doing these things? Should we be working on super soldiers, animal human hybrids, and everything else that, the military and government is talking about? Even synthetic telepathy. They're trying to work on making soldiers telepathic synthetically. And you can look that up. It's a simple article right on the internet. You can Google it. There's major communication conversations and breakthroughs using brain chip interfaces and brain cloud interfaces using nanotech. I mean, we can dive into all this. It's interesting that you mentioned that when we talk about election season and mind control, commercials are a great form of mind control. There's 29 frames per second. What are they inserting in those frames in between? What are the subliminal messages? What are the colors of the party? Red and yellow make you hungry. If you're hungry, what are you eating? And what is your brain eating? Most importantly. And so those are a bunch of different questions. And I know that's a big can of worms, but we got to start looking at these things and acknowledging that it's going on. Social engineering is not something new. It's just become more digitally based.
Edward Bernays.
As Austin Dewar said, that's a lot to unpack. Mama Jenkins is in the chat room. She said, good evening, my Outlaw family. Learning Wednesday. Yes, sir. If you've listened to Outlaw Radio before, you are aware. Not a square. Dion said this government is set up to run independently like Africa. Hold that thought for a second, because I want to go back to the Constitution. And you said that it's the best thing that we have, or that we have written. And so my thing is, as a blueprint for what's supposed to be democracy or whatever have you. Yeah, it was a good blueprint. But after all these years, especially considering what has really happened, and once again, I speak from a foundational Black American perspective, because we as people of color, foundational Black Americans, meaning those of us from the chattel slavery, those of us who can trace our roots to the South, or to Virginia, or to whatever, wherever slavery was. And for us, it meant absolutely nothing for so long. It did not apply to us. It did not help us. It did not assist us at all. Okay. And so when it comes to, okay, we've so-called freed these slaves via Emancipation Proclamation, whatever. And they come with these new rules for the South, right? And then they come with Jim Crow. Once again, if you are looking at the Constitution and you're saying, okay, what's going on in this country today? If this is the document we're going to use to govern our country, let's bring this up to speed and make sure everybody's able to really enjoy what it's supposed to mean for them. That never happened for us, right? It never happened. Most of us would even argue that it's not happening to this day, right? When you look at disproportionate conviction rates in the justice system, you look at the history, especially in a city like Milwaukee, of redlining. You look at discriminatory education practices. We don't talk about employment and empowerment in a community when the median income for a family of color in this city is $29,500, and for our white counterparts, I believe, is $60,000. And it's been like that for a very long time. So I'm saying, for me as a man of color, I say no. Okay, you can say this document is great, but it's nothing if you don't update it, if you don't keep it current so that it's relevant to all of us, especially as taxpayers, right? Especially as quote unquote citizens. I just think it should be updated. So that's why I say we kind of differ on that, but still along the same lines. But I don't see it as great as you probably do.
Well, I mean, everyone's kind of targeted by, the government not following constitutions. Just look at the surveillance state and the Fourth Amendment, and not to mention that every average American commits 3 felonies a day. It's really just cherry picking at that level. So the question is why are certain individuals being targeted and why are other individuals not being targeted? And we do know that there's an encroaching police state where there's an incarceration factor where they have to have the prison cells at an 80% fulfillment mandate. Otherwise, they shut them down. And what kind of honest judgment will a judge make in order to keep the jails full if he has to? What kind of judicial system is fair and balanced at that point? So I think that we're looking at a lot of things where the government in general is breaking down for the fact that they don't follow the Constitution. Now, I get at the same point that there are some changes that need to be made or can be made, and I think that we should just follow the proper process on doing so. And I don't think that we really differ on that aspect. I think that what I'm trying to say is that we just need to follow the rules that are in place instead of ignoring them. That's
okay. But also, let's put this out here, because my outlaw family would never let me live without saying, yes, everybody's been shortchanged. Yes, for lack of a better term, everybody's been fucked over in this country, but nobody has been fucked over more than us. If you look at my people and our history in this country, on some levels is to the point where it just doesn't make sense. where you, for years and years, you allow legal lynching, like you allow systematic murder, you allow, just, if we talk about the whole drug epidemic, the crack epidemic, this is pointed directly at, let's give it to them because we have this in surplus, because we're giving them this fake ass war on communism in South America. Let's let this be the excuse to flood our community and decimate it. When you got the CIA and the FBI and all law enforcement agencies involved, complicit with drug trafficking throughout the United States, and it's pointed right at our community. On top of that, this is what let you know it had a racist slant to it, because years and years later, which we call right now, we have an opioid epidemic, right? Nowhere near as criminalized as the crack epidemic was. Oh, but now we got to give, it's a sickness. Oh, we have to give them, we got to find some programs, we got to get treatment. When I came up, my formative years were 85 to 95. I went from 10 to 20. So I grew up in the crack epidemic on the north side of Milwaukee. Okay. It was about lock them up. That's where we got mandatory minimums from. That's why we said, that's how we reached that nut quota that you was talking about. Let's get, how we gonna get this percentage for these prisons? Well, shit, let's just arrest them for the shit we gave them. Right? Like
that's what Iran-Contra was about. So in the 1970s, the government found itself threatened by Russia potentially taking over the drug trade here in America. So the CIA decided to take it over. And this was part of Iran-Contra, where our government was smuggling in the cocaine and the drugs. We know this because of a guy named Freeway Rick Ross and Gary Webb, who was the reporter who actually blew the whistle. And last time I heard of Gary Webb, he was on the Alex Jones show blowing the whistle that there's people trying to like checking out his car, and there's like people going around his home, and he was talking on the Alex Jones show about this, and then he was found dead, suicide, 2 bullets to the back of the head, whatever that means. But he blew the whistle that our government was bringing in the drugs, that they were selling it. And not only that, there's on record, they worked with the heads of MTV to create the drug culture through the prison complex and create it through the rap scene. And you can just look that all up.
Oh, I knew that was coming.
Yeah.
Listen, we could talk about what rap did for
I love rap music, man. I love hip hop. I'm just saying.
This is an argument we're going through right now, because one of our pioneers, Special Ed, came out and said that NWA brought forth the destruction to the culture. And that destroyed hip hop music, which this has been a hot button topic. If you are a foundational Black American, this is one of our talking points. And so there is a debate at what role did rap music play. I've always approached it from this perspective. I didn't think NWA made up anything. I didn't think that they were telling tall tales. It sounded like they were talking about verbatim what happened in their neighborhood every day, which I looked at my neighborhood and said, holy shit, same thing. And that's in Los Angeles, and this is way over in Milwaukee. So rap, okay, so we talk about pop culture, and you talked about commercials. And so there is a sort of programming that you undergo when you listen to music, and there's influence by celebrities. But man, I love hip hop so much, and happy 50th anniversary. I don't know if I want to saddle them with that major a role in what crack was, especially when we just talked about the CIA and the FBI being the main dealers. I don't know how we can blame little old hip hop when we got proof that the government with a B, government, was involved. I don't know. I'm not saying you did that. That's just my argument towards that.
Well, yeah, there was a time, I think in the early 1900s, where Hollywood was decided to be the main factor and the pusher of trends in the world. The term Hollywood, I don't know if you know where it comes from, but the magic wand is made from the holly tree or the holly bush. And one of my mentors, Jordan Maxwell, Russell Pine, he was his mentor was Manly P. Hall. So this is somebody I learned from when it comes to etymology and symbolism of words. Obviously, we dance and we dance and we follow the trends of Hollywood just as much as an orchestra follows the trends of a conductor with the magic wand. Mm-hmm. And that wand is made from the holly tree or the holly bush. And that's where we get Hollywood from. And I think a lot of that was all orchestrated and planned out, especially with the DARE program, when they knew that DARE in school would encourage drug use and increase drug use. And it would get kids to move to cocaine, because all of a sudden kids are going to Dare and they didn't know what a marijuana pipe was, but all of a sudden they're at home with mom and dad and they see it on the counter. Now they know what it is. And now they heard it was bad. Drugs are bad. They go smoke the pot and they realize, well, this isn't so bad. What else am I being lied to about? And then they go move up to cocaine or whatever else it is. They create more consumership. And that's where it comes down to is our government is using these programs to fund black ops. And it's still going on to this very day. I know about 4 or 5 years ago, I wrote a story because there are crates of guns being left in the hood of Chicago, and nobody knew where the crates of guns were coming from. But the weird thing is these guns that were in the crates were military grade. The only place they could have come from was from the government, and it was going to gangs so they could protect their assets that they were bringing in illegally. So another person I know very well is Barry Cooper. Barry Cooper is a personal friend of mine. He was a forensic officer and drug busting cop in America, and he's dedicated the rest of his life to educating people how to get away with drug use. Not that I'm saying that's a good thing or a bad thing, but he would bust so many drugs going over the border that he started busting law enforcement. And so now then he turned against cops doing dirty things. And, you know, our whole system is rigged in a way where government seems to be unaccountable, but us, the people, seem to always get the short end of the stick. And I'm not going to deny that there's been a lot of issues in America. Just look at the indigenous people. Look at many of the minority cultures in America. Like the founding of this country is not beautiful. And I can say that just about every country out there does not have a beautiful foundation. In fact, I can't find a person out there that loves their government in the world, whether it's communist, socialist, democratic. Everyone hates government. The question is how do we solve the issue?
Except for white dudes, because my neighbor next door got a Trump flag in front of his house and he's bring America back, and he loves the government. He said, listen, it's funny, me and my wife, we gave him a nickname. We call him American because he says at 4th of July he got flags and I'm American. I don't know if it's because he used to see me come home with my Black Panther uniform on, or maybe he's heard the podcast out the window or something. I don't know, but I mean, I don't have a problem with him per se, but it seemed like, you know, old white men are the ones who love America. Like, you like it or leave it. You go back to where you came from, buddy. But I want to give Rail his props for this. Rail, you just laid that whole Hollywood thing out for us on Monday when we were talking, because this is along the lines of the things we talk about. I told you that when we spoke. I said we spoke about all this stuff you just mentioned. But Rail just explained that about Hollywood and the tree, and so Rail, big ups to you, man. I dig.
Man, you gotta understand how shit work, and like it's like this, like just on some nerd shit. I explain it like Star Wars. It's like the Force. It's like you can understand when that shit being used on you. You ain't gotta use it. Like I tell you, people scared of witchcraft and magic, but it's used on you daily. From colorology to fucking symbology, you know, just like we were talking about. That's Edward Bernays right there. That shit in the music. If you hear it 15 times or some shit like that, it's bypassing your frontal lobe and hitting your subconscious, whether you say you receive it or not. It's just it's when you understand. Like I say, psychology is witchcraft. But it would behoove you to learn that shit so you understand when it's being used against you, like the Force.
Got you.
Rel, if I can rebuttal here, Rel, man, I have to say you're pretty spot on here. The process of giving symbols meaning, we don't call it wording, right? We call it spelling. What does it mean to cast a spell? I'm writing in the middle of writing a book on this, and I wrote a preface for Jordan Maxwell's last book on the language of symbols. And when we call the laws in which spells work by in the arcane sense is known as grammar, right? And so when we stitch symbols together, it's called a curse. And even in the word rite, W-R-I-T-E, there's a writ. R-I-T is in Scottish, right? Or ritual, right? There's a reason for it. It's because our language tells a very ancient story about the Egyptian deity Osiris, the sun god, where he told Thoth to write things down or how to worship him. And that's why the capital A is a pyramid and all-seeing eye. It's our symbols come from a very occult nature. They're there to program us, and they're there to cast a spell on us. That's why when we look at wording, there's the double speak or language where I can have a conversation with one person and another person, and they'll get two completely different meanings out of it if you understand the hidden meaning behind the words that we use. Because the term word also comes from the word wood or logos, and the logos is where we get the term lodge as the Masonic lodge from. And there was a carpenter, right, who split the lodges or split the wood. His name was Jesus Christ, and that's why you can't say the sacred word of Christ in the lodges unless it's mathematically and geometrically. But that's diving into the occult and masonry, and I don't want to offend any of the fellow craftsmen out there. Not that I'm one, but I've done a lot of research and I know a lot of masons, and I've sat and had very intimate debates on the psychology of words and wording and word magic, and even the sounds of words. Look at Facebook, for example. Facebook changed its name to Meta. What's Meta said backwards? It's atom. What is atom? It's just interesting. It's the origin point. The beginning of man is atom. Everything's made from atoms.
Right. So if you're just tuning in, it's Outlaw Radio. Speak on it on a Wednesday night. It's from 7:30 p.m. until Central Standard Time until I choose to cut the machine off. If you have any questions for anybody on the panel, the number is scrolling slowly across the bottom of the screen, but some of us, maybe if you're listening on your phone, you can't see it. So it's 262-202-5131. The Cash App is there too. So if you feeling real frisky, hit us off. Chat room is popping. Dion's in the chat room. He says, even in the Constitution, we were 3/5 of a human being. My cousin Mariah, I got to stop saying my cousin every time and just say Mariah. She said, right, I learned about a lot of drugs that I never heard of through the DARE program. I see you, Paris LaShawn from out in Denver. He said, peace, Outlaws. And OTB guest from the Mile High City. Mile High income migrant flooded city. Frontline Black News, Shabaka's Black Experience in Hands, and the Revolutionary Agenda. Shout out to Shabaka. Shout out to you, Paris. Welcome to the show. We got a esteemed guest tonight, Mr. Kriston Harris, who is a everything. He's a scholar. He's a radio host. He's a podcaster. He is a thinker, if you will, a deep thinker. And so we're just having some conversations. I wanted to kind of bridge because we can come back to it. We want to come back to that. I know you said you only have about an hour. So, but this is interesting. It's November. And so every November, we start to see the footage and the archival footage of the president getting killed. Okay, John F. Kennedy, right? John Fitzgerald Kennedy, right? Greatest president, Camelot, right? This is this president who, the Cuban Missile Crisis, the hero who stood tall to Castro and the Soviet Union. But you said something very interesting when I was speaking with you via Messenger. You said you spent the day with Lee Harvey Oswald's wife.
Well, his former lover, Judith Baker. I spent a week, actually. I also spent that time with a guy named St. John Hunt, who was Howard Hunt's son. He's the former director of intelligence of the CIA. I spent time with both of them, intimate time. And Judith Baker went on to provide in the 2016 or 2015 debates. If you remember Donald Trump and Ted Cruz facing off, and Donald Trump said something along the lines of, your father was involved in the JFK assassination. That's because Judith Baker provided a photograph of Lee Harvey Oswald and Rafael Cruz, Ted Cruz's father, handing out pro-Castro material from the 1960s because they're both funded and they were working for the CIA, much like even in the Black Panthers or the KKK or the Proud Boys or Antifa. A lot of these top individuals in these organizations are informants or working on government payroll, right? So
I want people to hear that. I want people to hear what he just said. Most of the top level individuals in these groups and organizations are government informants, right?
Just like in this situation, they were government-controlled resistance, because the best way to control things is to control both sides or all sides of the argument, because then you can control the outcome, right? And so that's what Lee Harvey Oswald was doing, is he was working with the CIA, and that's why Jack Ruby killed him, because of the fact, this is what she alleges, because of the fact that this information would have been put out there and it would have ruined a lot of things that were going on in Cuba at the time, because there was a lot of Castro issues. John F. Kennedy, Marilyn Monroe was sleeping with John F. Kennedy and Fidel Castro. It was very
Was she sleeping
interesting.
with Fidel too? I never heard that one.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Also, Judith Baker went on to tell me that she felt that Lee Harvey Oswald was innocent, that there's no way he could have done it. And now, because of the Trump released JFK files, we learned that the CIA believes there was somebody dressed by like a law enforcement officer who probably shot JFK because no one would question a law enforcement officer with a gun. And Lee Harvey Oswald was probably just a patsy. We also know that George Bush was in the vicinity and in town that day, which nobody really denies. And he later on became the head of the CIA, which is interesting enough. All that being said, John F. Kennedy claimed to want to get out of Vietnam. He was also interested in UFOs, which I know nowadays is in the news, and I don't want to get into the real fringe stuff, but he was wanting to do disclosure on that as well. There was also interest, obviously by the military industrial complex to get back in war. So according to St. John Hunt, Howard Hunt's kid, he recorded his father in a deathbed admitting that the CIA was responsible for the assassination of JFK, probably Martin Luther King as well, because we found that out in court hearings, right? That the government was responsible for the assassination of MLK. But you don't hear that on the news, right? You might hear it on my show, The Rundown Live, or programs like this. But there's definitely plenty of evidence to support that our government and the CIA has run rogue. And not only that, JFK was going to disassemble the CIA. Remember that? He was going to break it down and chop it into little pieces. He also gave a whole big speech on the concerns of secret societies and how they're repugnant. And then he was killed in a Masonic ritual, pretty much. I'm just saying, it just looks that way. Just looks that way. I'm not saying that's what it is. It's just the way it looks. Just saying that's the way it looks.
Let me just say right. But no, with the whole JFK thing, and I'm a history buff, so I grew up especially like reading and watching these old films and reading about the Zapruder film and reading about Badge Man and the Grassy Knoll and just the whole thing.
Magic bullet. That's what.
Right. The magic, all of that good stuff, right? And the brain got lost and all this kind of stuff. And so,
I got something on that too. So I was able to sit with someone and record somebody that was in the room when the autopsy was going down, and they wouldn't allow. They had 2 5-star generals in there that had nothing to do with medical or knew anything about the procedures, tell the doctor how to do his job, and he couldn't flip the body over to look at the skull. So it's very interesting. And there was no brain. The brain was scooped out. That is accurate. So
okay. So that's what I'm saying. Like once again, as a man of color, when we say conspiracy and who would conspire against who, because look, I want to shout out once again my sister Kimberly Ann, and I hope she's watching tonight in Madison, Wisconsin. She's a big time lobbyist in Madison. She's always protesting something, fighting a good fight. She brought this book, Medical Apartheid: The Dark History of Medical Experimentation on Black Americans from Colonial Times to the Present, and references that people just think it was just the Tuskegee experiments, when it's many, many, many more, and probably some still going on. And so you say, why are Black people so skeptical? And she say, play the race card. I think if anybody has earned the right to say it's because I'm Black, it's us, right? And I'm being serious and I'm joking at the same time, because I don't like a Black person who always plays the race card, but I understand why. But I want to go back, because you spoke on Martin Luther King, but there's some talk that the federal government may have been involved with Malcolm X's assassination, right? If you could watch any documentary, please watch Bastards of the Party by Claiborne Sloan, in which he talks about the systematic murders of any Black leadership during the 60s and early 70s. So those would-be Panthers or those would-be Black liberation people, or the children of the party, were bastards, because the leaders were killed. You talk about Fred Hampton. What happened to Chairman Fred Hampton? We had Fred Hampton Jr. on the show, and they let me know he's Chairman Fred Hampton. Don't just say Fred Hampton, right? His murder is that's like one of the most crazy examples of the government getting it. Chicago police officers in the 60s wearing uniforms with machine guns, with fully automatic machine rifles, to go in and put hundreds of bullets into the room and only a few come out. It's so much there. So I'm always interested in hearing, because I hear now that the doctors actually smothered There's a theory that they smothered MLK, that they suffocated him on the table. It's all kinds of crazy theories. But I mean, when I hear you talk about speaking to these people, it lets me know that there has to be some validity to some of this stuff with the government's conspiracies, or you said going rogue. Paris says JFK Jr. assassination is where the term conspiracy theorist came from.
That is correct. Actually, if I can stop you there, what's interesting about that term is it's a thought terminating cliche. What that means is it prevents even the most intelligent person from recognizing their own logical fallacies or cognitive dissonance, meaning that nothing you say should be absorbed, and it prevents them from absorbing any information. So and there's other thought terminating cliches such as fact challenged or anti anything, whether it's anti-Mason or anti-fascist. If you're anti-fascist, you could never act fascistly, right? So there we have these terms that are thought terminating cliches, and are used to prevent you from acknowledging your own logical fallacies. Why wouldn't we call these people absurd or crazy or lunatics? It's because it's not effective. And the term conspiracy theorist was developed for that fact. They have a whole catalog. What's interesting, one of the most interesting things about the JFK assassination is how much money the government spent on this encyclopedia of research, but really didn't invest a whole lot of money on finding out who killed JFK. It was just on how he died. The magic bullet theory,
So I heard you say Masonic ritual and whatnot, but there's I guess organized crime figures who say that they had a hand in this because of how they were handled, and they wanted to get back into Cuba and get the money from the casinos that they were getting before. So I don't know how this all comes into play. You seem like you pretty well researched on it, so we probably would talk about this for hours, because I'm like, I hear these dudes saying no.
The Masonic ritual thing was just a little punch and joke. Listen, the roads are laid out Masonically in a lot of cities. And it just so happened that when he was assassinated, it was that his course was changed immediately. Like JFK was originally not supposed to go down the road that he was supposed to go down, and they changed it last second because they were worried about a threat, and it ended up putting him right in harm's way conveniently. And I'm just saying that it just so happened that the roads were laid out that way, and it was at a very spot that it was very Masonically laid out. Now, I'm not saying the Masons had anything to do with things like that, like they did with the Tea Party or the filthy shit that Albert Pike was involved in. Like, I'm not saying any of that, but it is what it is. And there's bad people and everything. I can go to a church and find bad people. I'm not looking for demons under a rock. I'm just trying to tell you that there's a lot of interesting coincidences around this. Just like, you have, the two pillars there. What are they? Jackin and Boaz. And you got the World Trade Center that happens to be two pillars. You can look and find anything you want if you really want to look into it and try to make it look like something. But what I'm trying to say is, we should work with the facts. And sometimes I throw a little, conspiracy twist in there for you guys.
Nothing wrong with that. I mean, because I've utilized that term on the show before, and we joke about it. Our resident conspiracy theorist, and we used to have a brother on here by the name of Jason, who that was his thing. Like, you could say purple, and he would say, "Brother, do you know where the color purple actually comes from?" Like, he would be able to explain, like, how the CIA used this in the 50s on some monkeys in the lab, and I'm just saying, like, so we got fully acquainted with. I was wearing an aluminum foil hat by the time this brother would be done, and we used to just joke about it and talk about, and he would say the same thing. That's a created term, so you would discount me and think anything that I'm saying is illogical when I'm really on point with the truth. And we'd be like, nah, bro, it's just a Big Mac. It's just a Big Mac from McDonald's. It's not that complicated. But I want to ask you this while I have you here. So what do you think about critical race theory?
Listen, I'm not a big fan of CRT. I'm just not. Like, I think that, first of all, the problem with CRT doesn't really stem entirely from CRT. It's Common Core curriculum in general. The idea that we can cookie cut globally our education system is ludicrous. Like, I could dare say that every state is different from each another state, and every city is different from each another city, and every school is different from each another school, and every kid deserves attention separate from each another kid. And the idea that we can cookie cut everything and bring everything together that way, I think critical is crazy. I just think it doesn't have the best interest of our local communities involved. And that's mostly because the idea of Common Core curriculum and critical race theory comes from the Council on Foreign Relations, an organization that no one even admitted existed until the 1990s, but it's been around since the 1930s because of the fact that its main key and goal was to establish a new world order, which is a conspiratorial term. The critical race theory, my biggest concern is it creates a bigger division and language barrier between, let's say, suburban and urban community individuals. And how that works is maybe in a suburb, somebody doesn't experience racism. A lot of Caucasians, let's say here in Wisconsin, in the suburban community, they don't see the racism on a day-to-day basis. But you go into the city where they're educated on CRT and they're taught this is gospel. Well, you get these two individuals together. They have two different very viewpoints of education of what this looks like. So you have a Caucasian who may use some microaggressions that he's not educated on, and then that individual in the city thinks it's racist, when in reality they're just speaking two different languages and they don't really hate each other. In fact, you could take two different children that are of different races and put them on playpen, they'll play together just fine. I think that there's a lot of different issues with critical race theory, and a lot of it stems from Common Core curriculum. Now, I don't have a problem with people knowing the history of this country. I think that what they're doing is developing activists for communistic viewpoints. That's why it's Common Core. It's where in the future you're going to have your kids go and they're going to have a social credit score in high school, and at the end of graduation the computer is going to spit out what they can get a scholarship for, and if they want to follow their dreams and do something else, then they're going to have to go and pay for it themselves. They call it fully automated luxury communism. And we can talk about the origins of the communism in the 1776 Bavarian Illuminati and Adam Weishaupt and the League of the Just, which spawned out of the Bavarian Illuminati, which became the World Communist Party, which is on record, the paper trail, according to Judaic text and educational text. I think it's really interesting, but at the same point, I think CRT is not accomplishing the goals of bringing people together. I really don't. I think it creates division, it creates activists, and it creates a communication barrier between people and races, as where in the city it might work, but in suburban communities where they don't see, let's say, racism, they think it's a fallacy. You put those two people together where they think that there's racism going on all the time versus a group of individuals that don't think it's going on at all. You're going to have, division, complete division. That's the way I look at it.
Okay.
You may agree or disagree. Like, I have no problem. I think we all bleed the same color. We're all on a rock flying through space, and at any moment we can get hit by asteroid. We'll all be gone. But I think at the same time that microaggressions and the idea of racism as a definition are two different things.
Okay, so let me say this. You are correct when you say we disagree. You knew that probably by the look on my face.
No, it's all right. It's all right.
But here's the deal. And I'm gonna be honest. Dion, I got you. I know you're on the line. Give me a second. I was raised by two parents who lived in the Jim Crow South. They were born and raised in Mississippi in the 1940s. They sharecropped. They picked cotton. They were subjugated. My mom would tell a story all the time about her mother making 9 of them hide under the house every time somebody drove down the road when they killed Emmett Till in Mississippi. They were that scared. They thought white people were coming to kill all their kids, and they knew that there would be nothing to stop them. What happened to us in this country cannot be discounted. It cannot be watered down. It cannot be hidden. It has to absolutely be told. The truth has to be told, okay? And the truth will set you free. I don't think critical race theory creates activists, first of all, because most of the time we are aware of what happened. And if you come up in the right black household, you know what's happening. So I came up, and I'm a 70s baby, right? So I came up in the 70s, 80s, 90s. I knew every transgression that had been committed against our people by the time I got to elementary school, because I was raised by a parent who lived through it, right? It wasn't no sugarcoating it. It wasn't no saying I'm not going to talk about it because it'll make you feel a certain way. It was the absolute truth. It was what shaped the way we lived. It was what shaped their perception. It was what shaped the way they move, why they left the South. I'm also a product of the Great Migration, right? And I'm going to tell you something about kids. Kids are blank slates. So if you tell a kid the truth and it creates the dialect, just like even right now, tonight is a perfect example. We can have this dialogue. We can talk and we can talk about it in a sensible fashion because I'm aware of what happened as well as you. I'm not blaming you for it, but you have to acknowledge that it happened. And you have to acknowledge that it has a tremendous effect on my people and still is having an effect on my people in this country, right? So I don't think it creates divisiveness because I've sat and spoke. I went to what we call HWCUs. I went to historically white colleges and universities, right? And I spent time talking to white guys who were, I didn't deem them as racist, like you said, they were from suburban wherever. I knew that they were unaware of what the reality of life was. I would sit and I would speak to them about it, and they would say, "Damn, Kev, I had no idea. I did not know, never seen that before, never encountered it." So what I told them was, well, this is the reality of it. So when you see it now, recognize it and be the change. Be the one to say, nah, I know exactly what that is because I've talked to a person of color before. So we differ in that regard. So, but let me get my caller. I'm gonna give you a chance to rebuttal. It ain't no ambush. Dion, what's popping with you, homie?
Hey, how you doing? You said a lot what I want to say because I listened to all that, and that sounds good for a person that all the America who I don't give a damn who killed Kennedy. You know what I'm saying? I could care less who killed Kennedy. He dead. It's over with. You understand what I'm saying? Kennedy wasn't all that anyway. But basically, like you said, like with the CRT, and I don't think CRT is for us. You listen. I work in Grafton, Wisconsin. I asked white folks one question. Now they could be joshing me, I don't know. But I asked them, have they ever heard of Emmett Till? If they haven't heard of the simple name as the young man who was killed in Money, Mississippi by the name of Emmett Till, they know nothing of our history. So CRT is not for us. It's for white Americans to know that this is what the people like you did, the people that look like me, as far as in the healthcare system. Now, I know this man know about conspiracy, so when I get off, I like him that if he knows so much, he can explain the healthcare system on how before Franklin Delano Roosevelt, and I even think it went back to even Dwight Eisenhower, they wanted to offer universal health care. I can't think of the gentleman's name now, but he was a German immigrant, and he moved over here and married some lady who had a racist family. And they said that if you don't allow Negroes to have health care, that they'll die off in a couple generations. Or even if you go to insurance, when you go get health insurance, that they don't want us to have health insurance, or how you go get auto insurance or homeowners insurance, or how then when we go get certain mortgage rates, that if he walked up in there, say, I put him in my house, he put all his white family up in there, his kids and everything, the little dog and everything, they'd come up in there. But when they came up in there for the house for me, they gave me a lower rate than they would him. So a lot of things that a higher rate, they'd give him a lower rate and give me a higher rate. So what I'm saying is, all the conspiracy and the Masonics and all that, that sounds smooth and the UFOs out here. But when it really comes down to it, I don't care about none of that. I care about me as a black man, fear every day when I leave from Grafton, Wisconsin. And I know these white folks know I work. I ain't going to use the white slurs, but I know these white folks know I work here. I have never been pulled over just yet, but just the fear of me having an encounter with the police. Like tonight, I'm going to wake up at 1 o'clock in the morning, jump on the highway and head down to Montgomery, Alabama. Just the fear of driving on those back roads. I'm going to take 65. I'm going to take 70 to 65 on the way down. But it's just so much than just that on being a black man living in America. You understand what I'm saying? These people have tried everything to eradicate us. They was even doing some type of experiment in St. Louis at their project where they was showing how if a nuclear fallout happened, they was treating the people with something like, say, if Russia would have attacked us with a nuclear bomb, and they was using some type of mysterious stuff over there. I can't think of the name of it right now, but they was using that stuff over there back in, I think, the late 60s and the early 70s. And these people over there, they was wondering what's going on, or how some of these, a lot of times, especially in the deep South, they have these toxic plants located in black neighborhoods and people was dying off at a high rate of cancer. So when I hear somebody say, well, we don't want CRT to have divisiveness, we already a divided country. Only thing I want you to do is know what people that look like you have done to people that look like me and continuing on this day. Maybe y'all could talk about the 1925. See, these people are very dangerous out here. And when somebody don't, because the only way to change racism is in America, you have to change a person's heart and the way they think. You understand what I'm saying? And we're not poor by accident. It's by coincidence. You understand what I'm saying? How these people target us and did everything that they could, had housing laws, housing covenants, where even to this day, they have it where you can't sell your house to a Negro. Now, even though it's old, but it still had the housing covenants. So it's so much that was against us. When white people be like, oh, well, you need to put, why I did it, why you can't do it, or, you know, or like even with the cocaine, you know, like me, I'm a felon, served an undercover back in 2002, just 2 dime bags of crack cocaine, been a felon since then. They denied me my pardon. And then what hurt about it so much, when the truth about cocaine came out, they said, yeah, we put it in y'all community. We criminalized it. We incarcerated y'all. We incarcerated y'all at a high number with it, but so what? Do you know how the floodgates are open? If some of these brothers could get these felony convictions off our back, it could open us up to law enforcement. They even was talking about how firefighters, I don't know if you've seen it on TikTok, how a dying firefighter, his last creed, and he said how the white firefighters back in the days go see little colored kids in the building, and they'd go in there and say, well, nobody in there. They deliberately allowed those children to burn up. And ain't no telling how many of these bail ambulance people and fire departments let people die. You understand? Because of their color. But I'm going to hang up and I'm going to listen, man. Y'all having a good show tonight. I love when we be able to dialect, and you know it is what it is. And you know, I love that conspiracy stuff because I watch all that every night, though, too. But you know, it's pretty. It's bells and whistles, but it ain't the meat and gravy, though. You feel what I'm saying? But I'm about to get up out of here, though. I'm about to jump on 43, go to the crib, take me a nap, wake up at 1 o'clock in the morning, and I'm heading down south, man. I love y'all, man. I'm going to holler.
All right, peace, Dion. Peace out.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, so shout out to Dion. Lot to unpack.
I want to tell us everything except what he eating for breakfast in the morning.
Right. He made sure he hit every point we've talked about. I know you don't have a lot of time, but I do want to say this to you. This ain't you muted, by the way. This ain't about putting white guilt on white people.
No problem, man. Like, listen, I'm here to have a conversation, and I'm all about the difficult conversations. I'm not here to, I'm here to equally learn. Like, I'm not going to say I know everything and that I have answers for everything. But at the same time, I will say that I can somewhat equate what's going on because my great-grandfather died in a concentration camp. So, like, I do have some understanding. At the same time, even like looking at the history of this country, I understand this country is built off the sweat of a lot of African Americans, but at the same time, I understand Frederick Douglass and people like that, that rose above and changed the status quo. So it's interesting. Some people don't like Frederick Douglass. It's a political thing. I get it. Some people don't like him. Some people do. It is what it is. I'm not trying to politically use them one way or another, but I get the whole Emmett Till thing, being tortured, and all that horrible history. What was that, Mississippi, if I remember right? I can't remember. It was 1955.
Well, we got Rosewood. We got Black Wall Street in Oklahoma. We got
right.
So I wanted to say this. And I love the fact that Dion was able to get it off, because I feel like a lot of us just need to have a conversation.
Sure.
But this was the issue when you said it would be divisive, because I don't think you can mend a situation unless you really put it all out there on the table. Kamar used to say you got to reveal it to heal it.
Reveal it to heal it.
Okay, there you go. So
I never had a problem with the education. It's when things get a little bit far, and we're talking about, mutilating children to change their gender when they're at 3 or 4 years old. It's child sex changes and stuff like that. Like that's my big issue, is like once you start targeting children, I'm not talking so much I don't mind learning the history and understanding where the country came from and how we have to heal and mend. That's not an issue. It's like the backroom deal shit where they're trying to pervert this nation and destroy individuals. The post-genderism is the end goal, where no one will have genders because they're just going to synthetically build children in DNA lab. That's right. What do they call them? Designer babies. I think that's where we're going.
We feel like that agenda was directed towards us.
Well, yeah, no, absolutely. And he mentioned something. What was his name? Was it Dion?
Dion.
He talked a lot about Big Pharma. Listen, Big Pharma is the evil corporation. Once they found out that they could make money off of oil, they got rid of all holistic medication. Tuskegee is just the tip of the iceberg. Just look at MK Ultra and all these other things that medical testing did to individuals. And a lot of times they focused on minority communities, and that's where they became the pig. I would say the guinea pigs of these medical experiments. Listen, our government is corrupt from the top to the bottom. I mentioned I was a key reporter in the Jeffrey Epstein Ghislaine Maxwell trial. It's one of those things where when we look at this history of our country and we look at the education, should our children be educated about our history? Absolutely, they should be. And I understand that. Like, I don't inherently believe that every person out there is looking for demons under the rock either, but we got to heal. We got to come together. We got to have these difficult conversations. Like, there's things I don't know I need to learn about. There's things like we talk conspiracies here. That's great. That's something that brings us together. But like Dion mentioned, there's meat and potatoes. I was a key reporter for Coplock. That was the largest police accountability website in the United States. I used to write articles nonstop for them, and I understand how lopsided the police state is and how it focuses, especially on the Black community. And how these prison industrial complexes really focus and target how the Iran-Contra stuff works.
Right.
I'm
the thing, right?
not sitting here making any excuses. Our government has a lot of issues.
Here's the thing, we feel like this stuff should be talked about, right? Because like if a lot of Black people don't genuinely feel like, you know what I'm saying, it's genuinely like a genuine apology is even being given. You know what I'm saying? It's still gonna be resentment there. If we can't talk about it and we don't feel like you understand this point of view that we given, it's gonna be resentment there still. You know what I'm saying? So we will have to talk about it. You have to be able to understand what we're going through so we can know what we need to do to get past it even. You dig what I'm saying? So this is why a lot of this is needed. You know what I mean? It's needed to talk about. We can't just keep sweeping shit under the rug. You know what I mean?
I got a caller.
I talk to
Yo, Kel.
Hold on, Ewok.
If you can't acknowledge that you got the high blood pressure, you can't figure out how to correct it. You see what I'm saying? So if we can't acknowledge that we got a racial issue going on in this country, we'll never be able to correct it. This is really just us saying, like, come on, let's talk, let's figure it out. You know what I mean?
I got a caller, Kamar. You are correct. You make great points as usual. Ewok is on the line. Ewok, what's popping?
Real quick. CRT is not even being taught to children. This is a college course, and this is a special college course that's taught only in colleges. So all of this CRT is being zero schools teach CRT. Period. That's a known fact. But you let the Republicans tell it that it's being taught to children and it's hurting people's feelings. And I'm gonna be real quick. Also, it's a shame that they're taking the books off the shelf that's already been there. And people like what's his name that's running for president down in Florida, talking about slavery was a plus, and the only thing that he could try to come up with was Black people learn how to be blacksmiths, and they got a lot of trade knowledge from being slaves, and it was helpful. Man, I think that's ridiculous. And like Kamar said, if it's not talked about, man, if it's not somebody to sit down and discuss it, it's sweeping everything under the rug stuff. It's ridiculous to me. It's a slap in the face too. But on that note, I'm done.
Peace out, Ewok. I just want to say this too. The flip side of this is during the 80s when I went to elementary school, social studies books, the curriculum, like I heard you talk about curriculum, it taught us only this much about us and about America in general. Like because my mom was so ardent about knowing what really has happened, I went to Atkinson Library. I went Dewey Decimal System. I'm old. I'm pre-internet, right? I had to go and find these books and read about what happened, how society was set up and I don't blame anybody, walking the earth right now. What I say is like what Kamar said is, let's just acknowledge it and not try to because I'm not the type of person to say, oh, you dirty white man, you know what your people did to us. All I'm saying is, because I heard you say, look, I don't know everything. If I could learn something, let me know about it, instead of saying that doesn't happen. Because a lot of white people say racism doesn't exist. You guys are making this shit up. Don't play the race card. Fucking go back to Africa. Like shit like this, and this is what gets us upset. And we say, well, you see this movement by Republicans, which you said you ain't necessarily a big fan of. You see them making these movements to make teaching this to our babies, in some instances saying you can't even teach Black history during Black History Month. When you see that, you say, well, that's some bullshit. So that's why I asked you about it. I didn't.
Well, it's all divide and conquer. I mean, if you look at the globalist agenda, it's about segregation and breaking down everything into as many different groups, husband against wife, children against parents, parents against grandparents, white versus black, versus Asian versus black, and breaking
Jews
everything down. So nobody
Palestinian.
knows what's going on, because then Americans and people in general are easier to control. This is straight out of their playbook. You can just go read, was it hold on. Andrew Phillip Administrator, where they talk about their goal to establish global government, and the best way to control the people is to keep them at each end, wits, and destroying each other, because then they can come in and take everything, and just look at the world. It's really divisive right now. Here we're funding, Nazis in Ukraine while calling conservatives Nazis here. Just saying, it's just one of those things where the world's messed up.
And I'm asking us to pay for it. And they got us paying for the shit.
Yeah, and we're paying for the Nazis
and
over there.
We supporting Zionists in Israel.
Right.
Like, come on,
Yep, 100%. And there's genocide going on in Palestine. And listen, I'm a born again Christian. I believe in God. Not everyone does. Not everyone has to. But I do understand that some people came and took some land because they said God told them to. Does that give you a right to take some? I'm just saying. Somebody came to my front door and said, God told me I'm going to take your house. I'm going to protect that house. My Second Amendment right. I'm just saying. So there's a lot that's going on that we're just not talking about, and we can't talk about it because you're anti-Semitic, because you're going to have a conversation. It's no, I'm not. I just want you to know these are the facts. There's a bunch of rich people out there that want to control things, and maybe some of them happen to be of this and that ethnicity.
So I didn't automatically say, well, you are anti-Black or you racist because you don't believe in CRT. So that's what I'm saying. And nobody's jumping to conclusions. Now, let me get my chat room. Once again, I want to respect your time.
I'm here. Listen, I'd love to come back anytime, because these are the kind of conversations I love to have. And I'm sure you guys enjoy it. I got to tell a quick, small story. You guys familiar with 76 and Capitol?
Of course.
I used to run the Radio Shack there, and I came from a suburban store, and they put me in that store. This is a story. They put me in the store to change it because the store was struggling. And when I came to the store, the employees heard that I would most likely terminate most employees there because they weren't working, they weren't performing, and everyone there but me was African American. And so my first 6 months, I dealt with everyone opening all the change, making giant piles, being very rude to me. And by one day, an employee came up, and her name was Debbie, and she said, I heard you're going to fire everyone here. And I said, no, if you do your job, I have no problem with you. We ended up turning that store around, and we became the #1 store in the company. And we ended up all working together because we ended up finding a common bond and earning each other's respect. We were able to have a lot of these conversations. I remember one of my employees asking me, why do Caucasians like crackers so much? And I'm like, I don't know. I love myself some fucking crackers.
I like crackers too.
It is. I'm like, why is everyone drinking frozen slushies here in the morning at Radio Shack? I don't get it. And they're like, oh, Black people love frozen slushies in the morning. It's just listen, people are afraid to have these conversations. I can't, this isn't a workplace I'm having these conversations. But the thing is you can go into places and you can talk to people. You got to be able to understand and listen. And listening is a big factor. You can't assume shit, and you can't assume you know everything. You can't. And I don't. Listen, and I can tell you, I'm not a big supporter of CRT, mostly because I understand where Common Core curriculum comes from, the globalist roots, and it doesn't have the best interest of our local community. Okay. That's my biggest concern with it.
Okay.
And there's an agenda there. So I get it.
Okay. Now, Paris says he's very versed in this and who created the division and classifications. He says racism White supremacy controls 9 out of 10 areas of human activity: economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, sex, religion, war, and some say health and nutrition. He said, Christian, you and your people benefited from our ancestors' suffering and construction of this country. He's agreeing with Dion. He's saying, right, I feel everything you are saying. He was talking about, he agrees with Dion. So Christian is agreeing with Dion, and he's saying that his issue is the white people now who will turn to you and say, I never had a slave before in my life. What are you talking about? My dad worked at Alice Chalmers for 50 years. We were poor as fuck. But people say, well, you all have benefited from the racist power structure, especially in Wisconsin, southeastern Wisconsin, in Milwaukee especially. Like, you look around and you say, man, it's old money here. I mean, there's a lot of old white money in Milwaukee still. That's why even though it's 40% black, 20% Latino, it's a minority.
Old German money there. Yeah, right. I understand. I get what you're saying, but at the same time, I could say just about anybody that comes to this area has benefited from that labor, regardless if they came from, Brazil or Mexico or from anywhere. They've all would have benefited from African-American slave labor, or people who have built this country. So are they equally responsible then too? It's one of those, it's a philosophical conversation. And I guess it depends on what side of the aisle and all the information and how you look at it. If, for example, this is not me saying I'm trying to make an excuse, but in German tribes back in the day, the Romans would come and rape the first married woman. So if you married a lady, the Romans would come and take your wife and rape her the first night of marriage. Like, things have always been corrupt in this fucking world. The question is who's owed what and what should we do about it? And I think the first thing we need to do is heal everyone. I know people talk reparations. Does China owe us reparations for COVID? Like, there's all this kind of shit. Like, we could. I'm just saying. Where do we fucking start? Do we give the United States back to the Indians? Which tribe do we give it to? There's just like, where does it start? Where do we go to? Like, at what point does it stop? I just think that we need to get people to get along first before we can have any of these conversations. Learn to love each other. Find like the color of the skin shouldn't matter at all. I can equate to that person who got Dion when he's worried about getting pulled over. I get worried about being pulled over because I know that I'm on the target for exposing corrupt cops for all these years. And every time I get pulled over by a cop, I don't know if the guy's going to be afraid to pull me over or if he's going to have his hand on the gun going, oh, I know who this guy is, reporting on police corruption for, 10 years for cop block. So, I understand a lot of these things, but it's not. So
Paris he's going mania in the chat room. He's fired up. He says, because he's agreeing with Dion, but he said, oh Lord, you an Alex Jones supporter? He's asking, are you an Alex Jones supporter?
Well, I've been on the Alex Jones show. That's not a lie, but I went on there because I believe everyone has the right to information. If you like, I give raw information. I've been featured in the Rolling Stones, New York Times, Fox, CNN, you name it. I've been on everything. And when CNN asked me, you've been on the Alex Jones, and I said, well, my answer is if I do good work and I give raw information. If you believe he's misinformation, I have an opportunity to correct that. He has 13 million listeners. I have 13 million people I could fix the problem with. Now, if you still have a problem with me being on there, it's not with the misinformation. Your problem's with Alex Jones, and that's on you. Just saying.
Okay. He says, what color are the globalists and the elite? Go ahead, Rel. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I was saying I like Alex Jones, Joe Rogan. I just like information so I could formulate my own opinion. Let me hear both sides so I can use my ration and logic and make my own fucking truth. Let me hear both sides. So, shit, I was fucking with InfoWars and Alex Jones shit back in 2008 or something like that.
He did Police State 1, 2, 3, and 4. He had the first Police State movies and bringing awareness to police brutality to minorities. But now all of a sudden everyone's supposed to hate him.
Had showing the FEMA camps and shit like that. I don't know where Jesse the Body Ventura is now, but. Shit. I
know him too. Like those, listen, I can't speak for those guys. Like, every person's their own individual, and I'm not a guilt by association person. Like, just because your brother did something wrong and you're related to him doesn't mean that you're that person. Like, listen, I get it. Like, people like to play guilt by association. I don't believe in that.
Well, I once again, I think when it comes to like today, once again, the show was called Speak on It because, and we did a show called Fighting Words, where the spoken word right now is so prevalent. I feel blessed to live in an age where information is flowing like the Nile. Like the only way you can be ignorant in this day and times is if you choose not to learn. Like now if and I get on my people, right? Because I don't make excuses, right? Like I said, I come from a family of sharecroppers. My mother didn't give a fuck what your excuse was. She would let you know in a hurry. I don't give a damn about. Listen, she would say, listen, I got up at when the sun rose and picked 3 miles of cotton every day for my first 10 years of life. I don't want to hear no excuses, whether you black, white, whatever. So I see a lot of us steer clear of information and then they falter and then they wonder why they falter. Now, Kamar has kind of enlightened me and Rail has kind of enlightened me that Kev, not everybody has your thirst, or not everybody was raised by a parent who was super, super adamant that you learn how to digest information and how to take all of it and look at both sides and say, because I used to listen to Bill Maher. As a matter of fact, what I wanted to do with Outlaw Radio when I first started, I wanted to do what Bill Maher was doing on HBO, right? When he would have the panel and he would have the conservative people over here and the liberal or progressive people, and they would just go at it. I used to love that shit. But then I started having a problem with him because he was an atheist. But I still would watch the show because I love the information. I get nervous. Once again, I'm a PK. I get a little nervous sitting around somebody who's making jokes. And it wasn't just that he was just an atheist. He would make jokes about it that made me uncomfortable about how he felt like, oh, yeah, here we go again with this book of fairy tales. Oh, well, this big guy in the sky. Like, I felt, and not that I wanted to protest him, but it made me uncomfortable because I said, hey, that's not cool.
I used to preach, and now I feel the same way. Like, I believe the book causes more division than bring folk together, but I still respect everyone's right to believe what they believe. And like I said, I used to preach for fucking 10 years, you teach Sunday school, 20 years type shit. So, I still know that there's jewels in the book. I still love Proverbs, still love, all that shit. But it just, unfortunately, it's a tool that's been used more so as a weapon than as any kind of bomb type shit.
That's why I love Minister Farrakhan so much, because you can learn so much from him, but he makes some people uncomfortable when he starts to tell his truth. When he starts to say so-called Jews and his thing with but it's so much knowledge about us that I get from him. So I said, I'm gonna listen to it anyways.
That's a guy on my bucket list to interview is Lou Farrakhan. He's a very interesting individual.
Gotta call the minister. Can't call him Lou Farrakhan.
Oh, the minister. Okay, but I think when it comes to the Bible, it all depends on the messenger and how it's presented, on whether it's divisive or not. I don't think Jesus would be in battle in Israel. I don't think Jesus would be, in battle in Ukraine either. I think he would have been a very different individual altogether. And the question is how much like Jesus are we? Our culture disseminates and destroys the image of this individual who just wants us to treat each other good. It kind of lets you know how dangerous our culture has gotten and how violent it has gotten. But again, I myself was a youth pastor for a couple of years, so I understand the religious background, but I also understand that I talked to one of the top head Satanists. His name is Eric Freeman. He's in charge of the Anton LaVey account, and we talk a lot, so I have a better understanding that Satan comes from Saturn, the sixth planet from the sun of God, where it brings growth and brings life to our planet, and that the number 6 comes from Saturn, the hexagon. What does it mean to cast a hex on a person? All these things have reasons, and it's astrotheological in many shapes or forms. The 12 zodiac signs, the 12 disciples of the Son of God. Well, the sun and the 12 zodiac signs are interesting. It's interesting that the sun goes through each zodiac sign at the 30th degree and exits at the 33rd degree. And Jesus starts his ministry in the Bible at 30 and dies at 33. There's a whole nother story told there in the Bible, and a lot of people are missing it unless you dive into it. And I'm going to tell you right now, just because I don't agree with some of the things you guys said, doesn't mean that I look at you any differently. It just means that I'm willing to have a conversation. I'm willing to sit down and have a Red Bull or chill and grab a sandwich anytime. It's all about bringing people together, being able to spread that love, have hugs, and know that just because we don't agree, we're Chicago Bears and Green Bay Packers, and we got to go at it every Sunday, you know? So that being said, guys, I want to say thank you so much for having me on this program. You guys are all welcome to join me on the Rundown Live. I love to have you guys on the Rundown Live. We've for years we used to bring people of all different minds, but since everything has become so divisive and division has been so strong in this world in the last 5 or 6 years, it's hard to get people that we don't technically always agree with. You know, I'm an anarchist at heart. I am. I understand as a government that wouldn't work, but I believe you are in charge of your own life, your own soul, and your own direction. Yeah, you know, nobody's going to write you out a check. You got to go out there and earn it. So that's
first of
how
all,
I
let me
feel
say
about things.
we would love to come on. Second of all, let me say, how do people catch you? Because I want people to be able to check
So
you
my
out.
show is called The Rundown Live. You can find us out. We're on iHeartRadio, Spotify. I'm live on KGRA Monday through Friday, right after Clyde Lewis, who does a show called Ground Zero. We do that from midnight to 2 on KGRADB.com, Hudson Valley, New York. But easiest way is to find us on podcasts. Go to Spotify. There's an episode for everyone. We're all independents. We're not politically affiliated. We don't like Republicans or Democrats, but sometimes it may seem like we are leaning one way or another because we're just telling you what we found to be the truth. And whether or not that changes, it could. With education, people change. They change their heart. They change their mind. I have. And I'm always willing to grow. And you should be willing to be open-minded and grow too. And love somebody, hug somebody you don't agree with. I always said during the whole Trump Hillary Clinton thing, I said, well, go, if you the person next to you has a Clinton sign, maybe you should shovel their driveway. Do something nice. You know, fuck politics. It doesn't really matter at the end of the day.
Well, yeah, because even the Trump, even my Trump loving neighbor, when my back was really when I'm still dealing with this surgery, he cut my grass. He would cut. We look up, he's cutting my grass. So it's, you know, it's understood. But I want to say, you got to come back. We got to come on your show. We'll talk. We'll make it happen. And say, my people will call your people, but I don't have none. It'll just be me shooting you a message saying, "Hey man, what's up?"
Anytime, you guys. Appreciate Rel and was it Kamar?
Yes, sir. The witch doctor.
The witch doctor, man. I'd love for you guys to all join. My co-host is Don. He believes in Thor. He's a Celt, and he believes in that kind of stuff. So gotta meet him. Like you gotta have an open mind. You gotta have the debates. You gotta have the conversations. Thank you guys for having me on tonight. You guys have a blessed night. And any of you listeners that are out there, you guys want to send me a message, go ahead. I'd be happy to have a conversation about it. So
there we go. Peace and love, man. Peace and love.
Thank you guys. Stay blessed.
Woo-wee. Outlaw Radio, Wednesday night hump day edition. You never know what you're gonna get, right? Life is like a box of chocolates. My chat room is still shaking because people were reacting to the conversation. Ewok says, because Paris, shout out to Parrish. Parrish is like, I'm puffy tonight. Won't stop, can't stop, right? He says, racism, white supremacy is a group sport, not an individual one. One good Caucasian acts as a shield for bad ones. Look, I couldn't get to everybody's comments because I knew he didn't have that much time, but he'll be back. And I'm hoping that we can all go on there. That would be an incredible event to go on there and really do that. I want to get us in rooms like that. Ewok said, fuck that get along shit until we get our money. He said, fuck that. He said the majority of the slaves that was transported from Africa ended up in Brazil and South America. And South America allowed Nazi sanctuary. Absolutely. This is true. He said it does matter, though. That's the problem. Racism and colorism matter regardless if you want to acknowledge it or not. Yeah, Paris, I know. Once again, this is Outlaw Radio. We have this conversation like constantly. Like this goes on. We know, right? He said he just had to pay out damn near $1 billion for disinformation. He's talking about Alex Jones.
Oh yeah,
I know. I didn't get to all this while he was on here. He'll be back. InfoWars. He had to pay 20, nearly $1 billion, right? He did put a bunch of bullshit out of there. Said Jesse Ventura, they are all RWS. They might tell the truth sometimes. They refuse to admit they are. I used to listen to all of them as well, Rel.
Yeah. I take all the information in, and then I do my research and come with my own opinion.
Yes. Alyssa Host, welcome to the show. Thank you for tuning in to YouTube. We need the views on YouTube.
Man, I'm gonna tell you, man. Hey, I'm gonna tell you, it take a real closed-minded person to not be able to take in new information. Like, okay, you can listen to it, but you don't have to accept it. You know what I'm saying? Like, you could hear something from somebody who you don't even like. You know what I mean? Somebody who has completely different views, but it's still something you can learn from.
Always.
You know what I mean?
That goes back to that emotional intelligence, though.
Exactly. You know what I mean? It ain't always
about motherfucker in their feelings. They out their mind, and all they gonna do is keep spewing like what was done. Well, you did this to me. It's like, hey, okay.
It ain't always.
Well, what you want motherfucker to say? Yeah, I did. I'm sorry. You know, it's like, okay, so we still gotta we gotta be able to listen without getting in our body about shit that really can't be addressed type shit.
Yeah, because I'm gonna tell you, man, you know, you can't change a motherfucking mind. You know what I'm saying? So why would you get mad?
Right.
Why would you let yourself get upset?
Right. Yeah, you're right. Elisa Ho says there's a lot of old money here in Milwaukee, and they fight hard to keep the laws the way they've been forever suiting their money. Yeah, that's what I was. That was the point I was making. I happen to understand, you know, that this is a city that's still fortified by a lot of old money. If you see the way City Hall moves right now, that's what you see. Old money still run the show. Jesse said, I love information no matter who says it. However, it doesn't negate the fact that major of those truth tellers who are white are RWS, like Tim Wise and Jane Elliott. And I think Kamar is saying, you know, it is what it is, regardless of whose mouth it comes from. And you could say, I'm not listening because this person is this or that. But a person like myself is going to hear what they say and then go research it. To say, well, let me see what the validity was. Because like what he was saying about where critical race theory comes from and the organization that's responsible for it, I'm not aware of that. I didn't know that. I'm not ashamed to admit I don't know who created it. I discussed how it's implemented, and they're discussed with it now and what it actually means to us. He said religion has been the cause of all the world's wars and wars in general. Minister Louis Farrakhan is now suing the ADL and the SWC for damn near $5 billion. Yeah, they've been defaming his character forever. He said your Western European culture is based off of that. Peace and love now, cut the check, reparations now. Yeah, of course. Come on now. I didn't get to go into reparations. I didn't even get all my shit off. First of all, we have earn a check. It's a debt that's owed. That's a whole, in Paris, you know, that's a conversation that's long and lengthy. He said he's a Unity Party independent. Okay. I'm voting Afro. I represent the Afro Party. I'm starting that. Open-minded, not so much. Your brain falls out. He said open-minded, not so much. Your brain falls out, though. He said, get him out of here, Kev. Womp.
Damn.
Hey, I thought he brought a lot to the table. Honestly, I thought he was very important.
I feel like that was one of the best conversations we done had with a white guy on this show.
He was intelligent and he wasn't scared. Even
and he wasn't spewing out no bunch of dumbass shit either. You know what I'm saying? It was a lot of stuff what he had to say that I agreed with. You know what I mean? Talking about the government.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Now, like you talk about, I don't expect him to understand what we going through. I don't expect him to be able to say the right shit. You know what I mean? If we ask him a question about critical race theory, we shouldn't expect that. So why would I get upset if he say something other? You know what I mean? Why would I get upset? Why would I want to argue with the brother? Why would I want to, you know what I mean, raise the hairs on my back and shit? Because this motherfucker, you know what I mean, ain't saying exactly what I want to hear. You know?
Well, I think Paris is expressing frustration with his point of view as a white person, right? But I think that's what made him genuine. Yeah. Because I didn't want him to come on here and cater to us or pander. Right. You can't pander to the Outlaw Radio family. Right.
And that's the credit that I'm giving him.
But that's why I respect him. Shit, he wasn't scared.
That's the credit I'm giving right there. You know what I mean? Like, come on, man, don't pander.
Because if we go on his show, we gonna pop our shit. Y'all know that.
Don't buck dance around the question and shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's all good. He'll be back, and hopefully we'll be on there. I mean, it's a big platform. It's a big stage for us. So, and people say, "Oh, Kev," but I think people have to understand when you get engaged into conversations on the level that we have, it's not gonna stop if you don't stun its growth. You know what I mean? Because it's organic in the fact that we're bound to be taken into realms that we ain't in because there's like-minded people in those realms, right? Like, so a lot of the stuff he's talking about or he discussed tonight, Rail just said last week, like we was talking about Hollywood. Rail just broke all of that down last week. So it ain't like he brought light to the plantation and said, all you niggas got around, and we said, oh Lord.
Right. Yeah, he ain't say nothing new.
Right. He said you ain't said nothing slick to a can of oil. That's what we say in the neighborhood, man. So, but shout out to him, man. He'll be back. I'm gonna holler at that brother, man. I when I say brother, I say brothers on the microphone. See, first of all, I say this all the time. I care about black people more than I care about any other race. I care about black people more than I care about black culture more than I care about any other culture. But that doesn't mean I hate the other cultures. That doesn't mean I disregard them as people or as humans. I'm just one of them dudes who's always cheering for black people to win. So I don't mind having a white person that don't necessarily, especially if you ain't from Capital. Like, I know black people who from Milwaukee that wasn't raised on Capital. They got a totally different perspective than I do. And it's all good, right? I know people from different areas, like different cities who, Kev, it's all good, you know? Thank you kindly, as they say. Mama Jenkins said, I enjoyed listening to him. His opinion was well taken, and he stood his grounds. Yeah, and it was, and then I hope it didn't come off combative because I didn't mean for it to. But when you hear something that you disagree with, you got to jump in. That's Outlaw Radio. You know, you got to jump in. You got to get in where you fit in. So shout out to y'all, man. If y'all got any questions, please call. The number's 262-202-5131. Christon T. Harris. You can inbox him on Facebook. I wanted to have a conversation with you brothers because we keep talking about and keeping track of gender wars every week. And it's just getting more and more ridiculous. When I see Kamar post about something on Facebook that ain't nature's Nature herbs or supplement, I say this is some serious shit. This is hot right here. This is going down, right? And I want to start with the brother Joe Smith, who is a former NBA basketball player. Bucks got their ass whooped again, by the way, by 19. But it's game 3. We'll get to that. But Joe Smith, there was this viral footage of him arguing with his wife, and I have a theory on this. And his wife, she found out she has an OnlyFans page, and she was saying, you know who I was when you met me. Money ain't flowing like it has been, so I did what I had to do, and this is helping us find a solution to our issues. And then this tremendous argument started up on Facebook about or this discussion of, what would you do and how would you feel? And then it got to the point about women, because there's the whole list thing, and women saying the gender war is about black men, and black men now are countering with, look at the image y'all putting out here. Look at how y'all living. We're becoming more and more critical of our sisters. So it's back and forth. Yum, 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 yum. First, let me say, there's no way Joe didn't know, because she was a 90s porn star. Yeah. She was old school porn. I think they said she has over 50 credits to her name. But once you heard her porn name, I grew up in the 90s, I was a teenager. So I know those 90s, their names are familiar to me. I said, oh, that's her. You forget about them after, all these years, but he had to know. He had to know that this was in her repertoire. And I say, I didn't. First of all, it's their business. The fact that they put it out here is the only reason that I'm even willing to discuss it. But I think it was a ploy for it to go viral. So her page, because her page now is, her OnlyFans now is through the roof. I mean, now million skrillion. So I think he played along with it because he had to know. And if this is my wife and she's just like she said, I'm just on there doing it to myself, or I'm doing what I do, and you notice she's been a porn star, it ain't no big deal. Now, if your wife is square as a bear and 2 times fair, all of a sudden she bent over on OnlyFans right now, and you never even knew, then I would say you have an argument. But in his case, I'm like, nah, bro, you already knew what was popping, man. Shut your ass up and enjoy that money. If she's sharing it with you, hopefully she's sharing it with you. So I want to get on the gender war thing. I don't know who want to kind of kick us out because Kamar, I know you put up a post. Talk about your post that you put up with what was it was about.
When it was talking about a lot of black women nowadays really don't want no relationship.
Okay.
I talk about this all the time. You know what I mean? I feel like a lot of black women don't. You know what I mean? They don't. A lot of black women don't even know what they want no more. You know, like you said, like they say what they say. Like they talk about black men or what they call black men. But then when you got good black men telling them, like, well, look, we don't like the long eyelashes. We don't like this. We don't like that. Then it's all a fight back. Well, you just ain't for me. You just got you because the motherfucker gonna respect me. He gonna accept me for who I am. And no motherfucker ain't gonna accept you for who you are if they don't want that. You know what I mean? And then you got to be critical of the guy that will accept some shit like, you know what I mean? And see, it's a slippery slope, right? Because see, now I'm talking about the fellas. Like, those same good men don't want no woman like that. Like, I don't want no woman that's gonna have her ass all on Facebook every day. You know what I mean? That's showing her ass. That's always clapping, making her ass cheeks clap and shit. Like, you know what I mean? You don't want no woman like that, man. You know, so ain't nothing wrong with a brother saying that. But in Joe Smith, in that sense, you know what I mean? He knew what he was getting into.
Right. He had to know. He had to know she would do something strange for a piece of change.
Mm-hmm.
Real, what's your perspective on this? Because I know I can almost imagine, but I just
oh shit, I posted. I think I posted a comment on the post. I said shit. You know, basically, she got more earning potential than he do. Shit, if he was smart, he'd just be a fucking co-star and run it up even more.
So you say he should jump down on the OnlyFans and be.
I mean,
but he gotta be that type of nigga though.
It all depends. Like for me,
you gotta be that kind of nigga. You know what I'm saying? Because you got some brothers that got morals where they morals is like, no, if I'm with a woman, we ain't getting down like that. We gonna figure something else out.
Yeah, we ain't gonna be on all.
And ain't nothing wrong with that either. You know what I mean? Ain't nothing wrong with either. Like, you know what I mean? And that's why I say it's all subjective. It's all about what type of brother you are, what type of sister you are. You got to get that same type.
Exactly, and just like you said, this is about it ain't a right or wrong. It's just how you get down, or like I'm an alchemist. I'm gonna flip that shit for the positive. Damn, you on this shit? Okay, you sharing the bread? Okay, well shit. Now as your partner, how can we take this shit bigger? You know, do you need me to hold the camera? You need some apparatuses. You know what I'm saying? Look,
I feel like Real want to pop his collar. What we doing, baby? What we doing here?
Mean, you know, I look at, you know, because I'm not a person who's molded by shame type shit. I look at it as you can only be ashamed as you ashamed. If you're not ashamed of your body, if you're not ashamed of your sexuality, if you don't mind, you know, charging motherfuckers for access to your more intimate side of life, get your bread. That shit is passive intellectual property. You only got 24 hours in the day, so I don't give a fuck how many hours you making per hour. You still limited by 24. But you unlimited is how many subscribers you can get if you got the right marketing.
This is true. Dion, what's popping, man? I see you back on the jack. What's good with you?
Man, I ain't gonna lie to you, man. I wouldn't want my woman to be no porn star. Like you like that's just like shit. Y'all running a little porn studio and you watch a niggas dick her down and she's swallowing cum and you know she's just getting ruthless. You know, I wouldn't even she can't be but you know what, I'm gonna keep it real with you, Ken. And this is my opinion. Ain't no fact to it. but I remember right.
I'm gonna keep it real, but it ain't no fact to it.
Yeah. This is my opinion though, and I'm being honest on how I feel.
Right.
I pride myself as a person that's able to hold an intellectual conversation. I grew up in the days when men were able to talk to women and finesse them out their panties. You understand? The thing about that though, you got a lot of suck ass niggas out here that really didn't have game about themselves. You feel? I grew up around Max, pimps, and players. You know, niggas that use their mouthpiece to finesse a female out of whatever she wanted. He'd finesse her out of her own life if it took that. You understand? But then when the dope gang came, you had these niggas that was scared. They ain't had no macking capabilities. So now they got a dope bag. So now they buying these hoes. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, what woman ain't gonna jump on a nigga? You know, you fucking with me. All I'm telling you is trying to sell you a dream, but then you gonna have this nigga that's actually gonna manifest your dreams. You know, he gonna cash out on you. You feel what I'm saying? He breaking bread. So now as time went on, you know, you got these women out here to be feeling like they don't need no man, and if a man can't do this and that and the other, then she's not able to give him any attention or want to fuck with him. She gonna fuck with the kind. Because I seen that on Kamar thing, and I shared it because every day you see women, and you know what? Hold on, I don't know who listen, but I'm an inbox whore. You understand what I'm saying? If I see you out there with your tongue out, titties out, ass out, I'm gonna jump in your inbox and see what's going on. I ain't got nothing for you but some conversation. I ain't got nothing for you but some conversation. And see, that's how you know these hoes don't be on nothing though. You feel what I'm saying? Because how you sitting up there, you just had your ass tooted up and your tongue hanging out your mouth. Those are mating calls to me. I see mating. I don't. Then you know when you jump in the inbox, baby girl was having, you know what I'm saying. But then you know what I'm saying. Later on, you'll see some old nigga put her on. You know they matching and all that. You know what I'm saying. That's a trick bait. You feel what I'm saying? That's trick bait. Now don't get me wrong. A woman will trick a nigga and sell him a dream though, because I feel like this. I give you 3 months max. We grown. I might give you 3 weeks, but I don't care if I like you. I give you 3 months. If you ain't let me get that little diamond between your legs in 3 months, then you trying to use me as a trick bait. Because I believe, and I heard women say this. One of my friends be like, I don't believe that. But I heard women say this. A woman know within the first 5 minutes if she gonna give you some of that cootie cat. That's what we gonna call it. We gonna keep it classy. We gonna call it cootie cat. You understand what I'm saying? Because it's a family show. We gonna call it cootie cat. Though, you just talking about swallowing cum. Not a family show. Hey, we gonna call it the cootie cat though. You feel what I'm saying? See, I ain't trying to finesse no woman though. All I want is a little conversation. You know what I'm saying? Maybe a little attention, and then because 9 times out of 10, I ain't gonna do nothing anyway. You understand what I'm saying? I ain't gonna do nothing. I just be wanting to see what it's about. But yeah, though, man. And then, you know, another thing, you know, as far as with the women, and I say this all the time. I tell people this, going back to what Kamar said. I have never seen. I remember when we used to go to Hamilton. Man, you walk down the hallway, you getting hugs. Give me a hug, and the girls they'll pass you a note. Would you go with me? You cute. Or a woman won't speak to you now. I'm talking about. I don't even hold a door for her. You know what I'm saying? If I see a woman coming behind me and she ain't gonna say thank you, I go around the other way because I ain't holding the door for you. So somewhere within the last, I'm gonna say from 91, 92 when we was in Hamilton to now, the whole persona and women have changed, and we just be back and forth with each other. Like the women had a list. I can't listen, man. I can't get mad at a woman if I'm a convicted felon. This woman she might be an avid gun owner. I can't get mad at her if she don't want to deal with me. She got the right to be like, listen, baby, you a convicted felon. I keep my guns around me. I got over 100 and some guns. I don't even want to bring you down there. We can have a conversation, but we can't move no further than that. You can't get mad at that. I can't get mad at a woman don't want to deal with a man with no driver's license. You know what I'm saying? We driving down the street, police get behind us, the nigga might go on a high-speed chase. So all of us should have standards, though. That's why I miss my nigga, man, the realest that ever did it, Kevin Samuels, though, because he put standards out here for these young black men, for black men. You know, we accept the woman because she got a big old ass and she ain't got no high school diploma. Her teeth yellow at the bottom. She rolled blunts and smoking them, drinking Hennessy. I don't want to walk in the house and my baby got the house smell like. I don't smoke weed. If I'm kissing you in the mouth, I don't want to taste no blunt in your mouth. You know what I'm saying? I don't want that. I don't want to see you sucking the douce down, you busting the blunt down with your fingertip and rolling it up. Because I don't use drugs. You understand what I'm saying? Weed to me is a drug. I don't use it, so it's a drug. You understand what I'm saying? But yeah, women just ain't classy no more. She talking about what all she and did and all that. I don't want to know your past, baby. I don't want to know how many people had a transfer on your bus. You know what I'm saying? So it's
you might need to know.
I don't know, man.
You might need to
know.
Well,
and then that post, it was about the mindsets of women today. You know what I mean? Like, the mindsets of women today ain't no relationship mindset. You know what I'm saying?
What does the post say?
It ain't.
Huh?
What does the post say?
It said, first off, it was a picture. It was a guy post. It was some dude post. Right.
Oh, and then it had the
screenshot. Yeah, he screenshotted it. Yeah, he screenshotted his phone.
You can't make this up or something like that.
Yeah, you can't make this up.
Okay, I seen that one.
Chick with her bare ass on her story. It's another chick with her titties out. Then it's another chick with her ass in the camera.
Yeah,
too.
I remember that.
You know what I mean? And then, like, just under that, the first post that's on his page is these chicks today do not be wanting real relationships. And if they do, they just don't even qualify for one with their current mindsets.
Yeah, and
I agree with you.
The disconnect comes in, though, where it's... So I see it on both sides. I see the niggas and the women that, like, both people operating out of fear. Like,
you're right. You're definitely right.
Women want relationships, but they scared of niggas. They scared, and
they
then
scared to get hurt. They feel like every nigga
and then dudes want relationships, but they scared to be played type shit. So everybody is functioning from a perspective of pain and past trauma. So they like basically like, cause when I see that shit, I just be like, oh, okay, that's bitter nigga, bitter bitch shit. Like whenever I see a man speaking on women as a whole and women speaking on men as a whole, it automatically registered to me as a trauma cry type shit, But the reality is that everybody hurt, everybody been played, everybody looking at each other like they the enemy type shit, but everybody still desire connection. So they miserable. They want connection, but they scared to try to connect with anybody.
They don't want the responsibility of commitment.
Type shit. Or the past pains, or some dude, real shit. This crazy. I just had a talk with my nigga the other day, right? And he was just saying how he kind of is scared to be expressive type shit because of, we all done had women do fucked up shit too. Well, I can't say we all. I have. I ain't even gonna lie. They done did some fucked up shit to me. But I decided within myself, I'm never gonna limit how I love somebody else. I'm gonna love them the way I love them. And either they're gonna be wise enough to reciprocate that shit and continue to have me loving them, or they're gonna show me they don't deserve that shit. And I'm gonna love somebody else, not regretting how I love them. I'm like, we gotta stop being scared to love people to our full capacity and want that shit back.
Right.
So, and that's just how people, men and women, is. So they do these posts.
Another part of that is, you know what I mean? Like we was talking about these mindsets. It's a mindset we don't even know how, because our minds ain't right. You know what I mean? We don't even know how to have a relationship.
Right. Because we
injured.
Like, yeah, you're right.
We don't even know how to have relationships. Like women, they don't want no men that, like, a man and a woman, we both supposed to correct each other and help each other grow to be better people. You know what I mean? Right. But it seems like a lot of women out here don't want correction. They don't want criticism.
They never.
And when I speak on this, you know what I mean? It still go both ways again, like Real said. You know what I mean? It's a circle. It's a whole circle of hurt. You know what I mean? Where one hurt person hurting the other back and forth. You know what I mean?
And it takes a hell of a person. Like, I ain't saying it's every man's responsibility, but kudos to that man who can love a motherfucker through. Like like real shit in my relationships. I've always managed, as I look back, I've always managed to get in relationships with women who didn't really have a relationship with their father. So there's times in the relationship I have to put on my father hat type shit when dealing with the person I was with.
Right.
Because I have to find myself being patient enough to teach them some shit that they pops, if his ass was around, would have been able to teach them. So instead of being triggered and reacting to that shit, man, you should have had your father. No, it's like, damn, okay. You never were taught. So the case in point, when my lady friends used to be around, it was like, damn, he controlling. No, I bring order. I bring correction. I bring guidance and direction. And because y'all motherfuckers was never used to that shit, it comes off as controlling or a threat. My lady don't have no problem with direction because she see I have a direction. You know what I'm saying? She don't. It's you can't. It's hard to guide a motherfucker when you have no direction. And a lot of men be bitching about women not submitting and taking their leadership, but that nigga don't do shit. The most furthest he see in his future is what shoes he wearing when he go out on Friday type shit. How the fuck you gonna run a house or direct somebody when that's the extent of your perception type shit? So we have to be willing to say, okay, you know what? I know she's gonna have some issues, but let me show her I'm the exception to this shit. She ain't gotta worry about that shit with me. And I am willing to do whatever it takes for her to see that trust.
Or just be that dude.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it don't matter what nobody else think. And the right one gonna gravitate to you.
Right.
The right people gonna gravitate. And like that go both ways, you know what I mean? Women and men. And this is why I always say, we gotta work on ourselves. We gotta focus on working on ourselves so we could be the right person for other people to even want to be in a decent relationship with.
Mama Jenkins in the chat room says, my outlaw family, our lives begin to end the day we become silent about things that matter. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. She also states, Dion, don't be like that whole adore. She says, I do agree with Dion about some young women do not have class and will not take advice from other seasoned women. And it's the same with young men.
Yeah,
but I want to make a point about this because I just heard Rail talking about he has had the experience that he's dealt with. The majority of women he's dealt with didn't have a relationship with their father. Now, I could say my wife had a very strong relationship with her father, right?
Oh man, that had to be
born and raised in the house with mom, dad, family first. And I come from the north side of Milwaukee. So our thing was when we was coming up was you gotta be cold on the hoe, right? That's what we used to say, right? And this is how we was. And I was raised, like I heard Dion talking about being raised around players, pimps, hustlers. What and just I went in the old barbershop, the old school barbershop with my father, where the old men who had 2-3 families all over town. Papa was a Rolling Stone type. Those was the dudes who was tying us up, lacing our shoes when we was young in the barbershop, saying, young man, you got to do this, that, and the third, and having my father and them school me. So I had a mentality that, nah, no girlfriends, right? Just we living. I'm out here living. I deal with women. It's fun. That's recreation. And that's how my mom taught me too. My mother reinforced that. Don't you go out here and whatever. You got to be this way. So when I met my wife, though, it was automatically understood that this wasn't that. I knew she wasn't a hood rat. I knew the way she carried herself was classy. I knew that the approach had to be classy. I had no problems as a real dude saying, you know what? You got to do this right. You got to step to her correctly if you're going to step to her.
Yeah.
I mean, the story, just to even talk about how we actually met, I didn't even actually end up stepping to her because I didn't, at that time, what I knew was, hey, baby, check this out. Or, hey, say, hey, just that. And I knew that would cause you to get dissed. Right. So I said, I couldn't figure until I just picked up the phone one day and said, yo, this is Kevin. I'm the dude that be looking at you. Now, at the time, it was funny. Ha, ha, ha. Oh, this is the stalker. But she stayed on the phone with me for 8 hours. We didn't get off the phone until 10 o'clock the next day. And after that, it was like, okay, it's all good. So my point in all that is when it's real, you know it's real. And if you respect it for its validity, you'll be straight. You don't have to second. I didn't have to second guess. I didn't have to go around and do scared, man. Did you mess with her? Did you mess with her? Did you? I didn't even. I had to do all of that, and I didn't really care because the way she carried herself was the most important thing, right? You get what you give off, right? She exuded. You better respect me. I'm not having it, and not in a heavy-handed like take my earrings out kind of way. It was just when she came around, you said, "Hey, how you doing?" She said, because we would all be together, rowdy, wild, and she walked through everybody. Hey, Sheila. She said, how y'all doing? Hey, we good. Like, and some women that come to you be like, what, you know what DM me doing? You didn't do that with her. So I'm just saying, as a man, and this is the part. This is why I don't like. I said this on the last show. I hate people who are on Facebook or on social media giving relationship advice. Usually when you see somebody on social media talking about relationships, they don't know what the fuck they talking about.
Right. They're usually single.
Right. And right. Usually, or either that, or they're in a relationship that pretty soon, if you keep the camera on them, will collapse and fail.
Right.
Right. So I understand that it's an individual thing, and you got to get somebody that's compatible with you, because we all got some bullshit and some skeletons in our closet, right? When you can get with somebody that can put up with your shit and you can put up with theirs and say, I can deal with this, then you good. As long as it's not a deal breaker, right? Because like Dion said, now she came out and said when I met her, hey, well, you know, I'm a porn star. I would have said, you know, I'm not really, that's not in terms of being my girl and potentially being Mrs. Barnes. Nah, son. Nah, it's not something I won't be. But you know, that would have been a deal breaker. For some dudes, it ain't. For some dudes, it's like Rail said, it's wow, shit. Well, I always wanted to do that.
That might be a
you got an
bragging
OnlyFans
right. Hey,
page,
you know my girl was a porn star. You know, that might be a bragging right.
For him, it depends on it's that individual, and it ain't my job to criticize them, right? You know what I'm saying? So that's what we got to realize. I also like what Kamar said on one of his posts when he said, every time I look on social media, it's black man against black women. And you said something to the effect that, and we both need each other or we're going to die.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what it comes down to.
Literally.
If you know, the black man and the black woman, we need it.
Right.
We want our race, our cultural identity, our sensibilities will cease to exist if we don't stay together. And I think for the most part, we are. I think that's why they put so much light on the dysfunction, because they don't want you to know that we really clicking in the ways that we should. People say, not in Milwaukee. I didn't talk to brothers who care if there's no women in Milwaukee. And I looked them right in their face. They say there's no good black women in Milwaukee. And I say, you are a liar. It's plenty good black women in Milwaukee. It's plenty good black men in Milwaukee. Just because you haven't met that individual, maybe you need to review your tactics. Look at where you're meeting them at. Look at what you're trying to get out of them. Look at your position.
Right.
It's all subjective as well as objective at the same time. That's all I'm saying. So that's about the closest to an advice section we're going to ever do on Outlaw Radio. But it all sums up to, hey, man, my father would say to me, you can't live with him, can't live without him, but be prepared to. That's what he used to tell me. He say, when it comes to a woman, you can't live with him, you can't live without him, but be prepared to. And I understand that to mean never lose yourself, be able to take care of yourself with or without this person. You never give so much up of yourself where you can't live without this person. You can't survive. Oh my God, I'm gonna kill myself. I'm gonna kill both of us. You're doing too much. Back the bus up. Like that's where this domestic violence issue that we dealing with in our community right now comes from, because you have men who are not able to really manage their emotions to the point where they feel like, well, if you ain't gonna be with me, you ain't gonna be with nobody. Right? We need to have those individuals in getting some training, say, man, think about yourself. Nobody is worth you doing harm to yourself or shortchanging yourself. Get out of that. That's not a positive situation. Get to a better place mentally. I know it's wishful thinking. People say, Kev, it ain't even like that. I had a brother even tell me one time, you've been married so long, you don't even know what's happening on the streets now. I said, oh, okay. Damn. Kim, you
Shit.
have no idea. Like,
Shit, it ain't shit, man. I remember, man, when I looked, I was like, damn, I'm glad I'm in a relationship because it ain't shit out there. Like, but I mean, it is if you looking.
Hey,
But
you know what? I think it is. It just
yeah,
ain't your energy.
yeah, if you
For the
looking,
most part. You
you'll
know what I
find
mean?
some.
It is. Like it's somebody for all of them
Right.
motherfuckers who we felt like, you know what I'm saying? Oh man, hell no. It's somebody for them. Somebody on their level. You know,
Yep.
they gonna have a toxic ass relationship because you know what I'm saying. Their energy ain't right. You know what I mean? And that's the only type of people that can get with them.
Right.
most of the time, Kamar, I tell people when you really intentionally start to work on yourself.
Uh-huh.
When you say, you know what, I'm good, I ain't no good for nobody right now. Let me do a deep dive on working on self. And you're upfront and honest with people. Like, listen, I'm not trying to be disrespectful or nothing, baby girl, but I'm just really trying to get myself together right now. That's usually when you're gonna find somebody.
Yeah.
Or you'll find that there's more women attracted to you because they can see that. They can say, girl, a woman will say, girl, it's something about him. You ever heard women say that? It's just something about him. Because they see that brother's focused,
Mhm.
that brother's trying to get himself together. Even if he made mistakes in the past, even if he said, nah, girl, I've been out here tripping. I got all these kids I'm trying to get. She'll say you'll meet a good woman who'll say, you know what? And that's why I'm fucking with you. Because you're trying to get it together. I want to help you. And you say, oh shit. Well, welcome to the team. Right? It's that kind of thing. And I see people who go out here and say, I'm working on myself, but all they do is talk about how ain't nobody out here on their level because they so enlightened now that it's just like, well, you ain't really doing the self-work or the shadow work that you need to do if you feel like ain't nobody on your level because you decided to work on self. I'm
Right.
just and I see that on social media all the time.
It becomes a whole new religion, just like
I'm gonna
diet.
manifest that my man is gonna be rich and we're gonna do. You can't
Yeah,
manifest
okay.
some shit like that. All right, yeah.
Right.
While you still fucked up, he just gonna accept all your fucked up parts.
But you don't gotta accept none of his.
Right. Yeah.
I seen
That's what I
a
was talking
female
about. And this is what that post was about, what I was talking about. You know what I mean? Like a lot of women, they don't really want relationships. Their mindsets ain't right.
I think there's a lot of them who don't.
They don't even know they don't want a relationship, is what I'm saying.
And a lot of people just want to be free. Like it's okay for you to say, you know what, I just, like you said, I don't want the commitment. You know, I want some things that come with the commitment because who wants to be lonely on a cold night, right?
They want the
Who
perks.
doesn't want somebody that they can talk to? Conversation between a man and a woman is a beautiful thing. I mean, one of the things that can bring me and mine out of a dark place is if once we start talking. Because if we have a conversation, we're gonna be straight. I would be worried about if the day came where we just never spoke. You know, I ain't talking about okay, because we gonna go, we around here. You do a couple days, silent treatment. But if it was 2, 3, 4, 5 months and we ain't spoke, I'd be like, we in some deep shit because we're not even talking, right? Like so, and it could be about anything. It could be about career. It could be about the kids. It could be about something. Did you see such and such and such? I know we supposed to be mad at each other, but I ain't got nobody else to talk to about this shit. You know what I mean? So that's what it comes down to. And that's why you got to get rid of everybody else, all the white noise in the background. Man, what you should do, it got to be you and her. Y'all got to be, it almost pays to go through something that's hard that you figure out, well, I can depend on her or she can depend on me. You say, well, we just went through some shit together. That was me and you. That wasn't me and you and my cousin. That wasn't me and you and my partner. That was me and you. We got to keep that in mind that this about us. This ain't about everybody else. So, that's just my spin on it. I'm never quick to tell my business what's going on. I'll talk to my brother. But we don't even talk about, because no, it's not about nobody else. I just say all the time, some of us love the attention. So and if that's your thing too, you like the attention. So I've never been one to put my attention out there, put my thirst for attention out there. But also we talk about the maturation process of men, because when we were young, if you got to touch a girl, if you got to grind on a girl, you couldn't wait to get back with the homies and tell them. Yo, man, she let me do. As a grown man now, I'm not sitting around telling no man I did this. That ain't your business, partner. That ain't that's why I say, nigga, do you do this or do you do that in the bedroom? I'm not saying I did, I do or I don't. I'm saying it ain't none of your business either way. That's the way I answer most questions. Oh, nigga, you do that. If that's how you feel, you'll never. It's not your business. So as a mature man, you understand it ain't about me sitting around with the homies like, man, I told my wife up last night. Like, because if you doing that, I'm looking at you like, what is you, 12? Bruh, come on, man.
Not only that, but I don't even want to hear that shit.
And I don't want you looking at her in a certain way when you see her like, oh, dog told me. And also, we all know cats hear stuff and they don't listen to it like, oh, that's cool. They listening to it like, I'm gonna get that. I want her to do that to me. It brings all kinds of negative energy into your circumference, as they say. Oh my goodness, it's 9:45, man. Every time I say, I don't know how this show gonna go because I really didn't know. We haven't had the best experience of bringing white dudes in. Shout out to Kristen Harris. I thought he did a great job. He'll be back. I'm gonna make sure we get on there. I'd like to bring some blackness to wherever they at. Foundational Black Americans in this bitch. That's what I'm saying, right? So we'll talk with him about that. Kamar, what you got coming up? It's been cold as a motherfucker. My birthday this weekend, I'm hoping is cool. Cause if nothing else for my birthday, I would love to get to the parking lot and do some running with some stuff before I had to shut it down. But what you got coming up, Kamar, this weekend?
Saturday, I got the first weekend, the kickoff to the Winter Farmers Market. It's going to be on 53rd and Capitol at the table. Okay. And then Sunday is the first weekend of the Winter Makers Market. That's going to be at the Falcon Bowl on the east side.
Okay. You said the table on 53rd in Capitol. I'm trying to place.
Yeah, it used to be a Lutheran church. Now it's a vocational. Now it's a whole vocational school where we do events and all type of different stuff there.
Okay, right across from Midtown, Burger King.
Yeah, across from that Hyatt spot or whatever.
Yeah. Oh, the pharmacy. Okay. Yeah, yep. Got you. Bro, what you got coming up, man? Garden time dead. Mine's covered in snow. Everything in there dead right now. So what you got?
You know what? I just looked at my lavender out there. I was like, damn, I should have harvested before the winter came. But this Saturday, I'm gonna be in the Black Chamber of Commerce, that business boot camp. You know, getting put up on game there. And then right now, I'm just been really going hard on TikTok, just promoting these books. I'm like, cause you know, in your mind, you feel like you always got to do more type shit. It's like, I got to hurry and finish this next book. And I'm like, come on, man. I already got products I could just be promoting right now while I am still working on this shit. So it's like, that's what I've been focusing on more, just reiterating what I do have now, the books, the gratitude journals, the CBD cigars, the CBD foot soaks, shit like that. So I've been tapping back into that. And of course, I'm trying to get my TikTok to 10,000 because then you could start getting paid for your videos and shit, like just because people like them and shit. So I'm at about 4,100 folk right now. So I got about 5,900 people to get. So that's my next goal. Oh, I've been looking into this becoming a travel agent. Like they got it to where you could be your own travel agency business. And my lady, she used to work for Frontier and Mark Travel, so she cold with that shit. And her family always be hitting her up to do it anyway. So I was like, shit, let's go ahead and start our own so we could start putting people up on the kink spots and the mushroom spots.
Oh Lord. My wife worked for Mark Travel for a long time, for like 17 or 18 years.
Man, y'all get that travel agency cracking,
well, she's been gone now because when they changed to Apple Leisure and all that.
She still got the knowledge.
She got the knowledge. But she was there. She worked her way from the call center all the way up to like a manager, like in marketing and finance. Like she was there a long time, like 17 years. Fly. Yeah. So, but yeah, man, it's my birthday weekend. I'm gonna be real happy, man. I'm like I was joking the other night when I said I wasn't joking, but I was joking. When I said, at a certain point in my life, I remember hearing that the life expectancy for us was 19 and a half years old. And I remember thinking at the time, like, shit, I'm going to beat that. But I never thought that I would beat it by this much, right? And so I'm going to be really like on every birthday. I'm 2 years from 50. I'm sitting here. I ain't ashamed of my age or none of that. I'm cool. I'm grateful. I've lived to see my kids grow up. I've, learned. I've matured. But it's always a good thing for me to just be able to sit up and just say, man, I made it. Like I lived, and I got a lot of things done that I said I wanted to do when I was a kid. I'm still a big kid at heart, right? Like if you come into my studio, you'll see more remote control cars and and stuff like that than a Asian kid, right? Like I still got gel blasters. My brother teased me when he was here. Shout out to Bear Me. He said, dude, when you was little, when I would walk in your room, you would have a comic book, you would have a rap tape playing, you had an Intertech water gun and a goddamn remote control car. You ain't changed at all. I said, hey man, some shit just don't ever change. So I'm gonna be real happy, man. I'm gonna chill. I'm get out to get a bite to eat. I just had my 23rd anniversary, 22nd anniversary
Congratulations, man.
last
That's
week.
fly.
Yeah, I've been married 22 years, right? Who'd have
That's
thought
dope
somebody
as
gonna put
hell.
up with my ass that long, right? Right. So I got these back to back. So I got my anniversary, my brother's birthday, and then my birthday between the 27th and the 4th of November. So it's gonna be a lot of good time for me to just kick back, man. I'm probably gonna give me a good bottle of wine and some of the, God's finest and just kick back, man, and relax. But I'm gonna have a smooth weekend, man. I want to thank you, brothers, for being here, everybody for checking us out. If y'all ain't never shared the show, y'all need to share this show. And I said I was when I had spoken, shout out to ENC Jordan who hooked us up. Shout out to Eagle Eye Shaw. Shout out to who else? Man, Prolific Arms. Prolific Arms. Y'all know who I'm talking about. Eddie Silas. Damn. I just spoke to
I
Ed.
met his partner the other day. His partner, Paula, came to the shop the other day.
Okay.
To the store. He gave me his card. Now, we was talking, and I was telling him about the podcast. Like, the fellas, they love the gun guys to come on the show and talk. They talk, right. And then he was like, yeah, man, my partner, he was talking about a podcast. Him and this one guy was talking about a podcast. And I was like, what's his name? Eddie. He said, yeah. I said, oh, yeah, man, we in contact with y'all already.
Yeah, and Ed just got his own, like he was working with some other people. Yeah. He just got his own store on the south side. He just got his own gun store.
Yeah, that's what he was saying.
And so I am already rocking with Eagle Eyes, Armed Black Americans. Trigger Happy TV is coming, y'all. Y'all better be ready. Trigger Happy TV is coming. I'm telling you, it's coming sooner than people think. So it's going to be a beautiful thing, man. We're going to make sure our people are informed on what they need to do and how they need to do it. Please be safe. We've seen an instance today of this horrific crash. Cats are still running from the police, running from law enforcement, and causing other people calamities. Got to be careful when you drive, and please be a defensive driver. The weather's getting worse. Everybody can't drive, so you got to be careful in that regard. I'm going through this season of my son is getting older. He's about to leave the house. And I was just informed by my wife today. She said, you really tripping. I didn't think of it like that, but you don't want him to leave the house. I said, I don't. I'm not ready for him to go to school. And because my thing was, I know how distracted young black males can get. And I know how dangerous this world is. And she's like, you got to let him go, though. And I said, well, I just don't want him to have to go through the things that I went through. And she said, well, he ain't you. You ain't him. Do you not think that all the work you've put in as a dad over the years has not had an effect? And it made me think and say, damn, I have really, really been focused on being a good father to my children over everything. I can't say I've been good at a lot of shit. I can't say that I've been the best at a lot of shit, but I can say I've given my all to my children to be a good father. I wanted their quality of life to be better than mine was. And it was pretty hard because my father had the bar raised way the fuck up. And man, my mom. But it's another thing I'm gonna be able to think about this weekend. Like, man, this dude is about to be 18. He's about to be a grown man. And I really have poured a lot into him. Got some schools interested in him now and stuff like that. Y'all check his highlight film I put up on Facebook. I told y'all my boy is good, man. So if people thought, no, You see his talent on there. But man, in the meantime and in between time, man, hug your kids, man. Tell them you love them. Let them know how you feel. Don't hold it in. Tell them I'm worried. Tell them, baby, I don't want nothing to happen to you. Tell your fathers, tell your daughters you love them. Tell them, baby girl, you beautiful. You don't let no man do nothing to you that you don't want done. You should value yourself. Tell your son you got to be strong. You got to be focused because one day you might have your own family. If you do all of that, man, there's not a whole lot more you can do. And if you are the type of individual that ain't taking care of your kids, if you are out here reckless in my community, bringing death and destruction, your mama should be ashamed of you and your daddy should have pulled out. I will see y'all Monday, man. Peace and love.
Peace.